myself. So much distance. Got something on your mind.
Alright, I gotta hear that again. That's shit. The beginning of this song is so fucking fire. It's unbelievable. Let's do it again.
Okay. So much pain, but there's still time. Believe there's still good in the world, or you'll lose your mind. Let it rip. Oh shit. Never ask you who the fuck we're ripping on. Who the fuck moves up? Sucking blood till the fucking break of dawn. Try to live, try to cook, try to guess, try to know, try to hope, try to make. No choice but to generate faggot mode. No choice like a choice, one no control. Let's pray till the gods get tired. Set fire to the drums on fire core. I would heaven like the cure. Only if you're sure I could put you in a square. Yeah, everybody wants to know the truth. Everybody wants to do what you can do. If they could see what you could do, they wouldn't want to be you. I got swallowed! I got broken! I got bleeding! I got tired! Give up on what you wanna. Now you're gonna go on what you thought was true to you. Must you find some kind of no trick that means something to you. Never give up on what you wanted. Never give up on what you wanted, even if it's stupid. God is stupid. Let's be stupid. Being cute is a mistake. Being likable instead of insane. Straight line to ruin. Having value to the faceless ones and shining bright in the sun. Fuck it, I never knew him. Can you still see the place you dreamed you would be? Was it ever really there at all? Reaching in deep through the blood and the grease. Well, at least I don't have far to fall. I tried to kill this, but it still exists. I tried to chill, but I'm still in it. Everybody's thinking that they're so sick of my shit. Speak the fuck up! My ears are ringing in this place! I'm the worst one out. 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 I'll be fine. I promise that I'll be okay. I'll be fine. I promise that you'll be okay. You'll be fine. I promise that you'll be okay. You'll be fine. I promise that you'll be okay. You'll be fine. I promise that you'll be okay.
again, but I'm worse than last time. I try to dream, but I can't sleep. Unaware and I cannot do it. Didn't mean to try, I'm just stupid. This creepy kid, this part of me wants to make the friends that I couldn't. Fuck it up like other me would. So clueless and so annoying. I try to know what I'm saying. I'm sorry, please just don't hate me.
T-shirt soaking on the T-shirt soaking on me. I know it, I got mean, I know it. We learned a lot about entertainment, tried a lot of shit, still not entertained yet. Isn't it crazy to be human? To bear witness to the illusion of patterns, to the illusion of order, to think that all this shit is normal.
I want to know what I can be. So close to being a normal person. Try again, but I'm worse than last time. I try to dream, but I can't sleep. Unaware and I cannot do it. Didn't mean to swear, I'm just stupid. This creepy kid, this part of me wants to make the friends that I couldn't. Fuck it up like other me would. So clueless and so annoying. I try to know what I'm saying. I'm sorry, please just don't hate me.
T-shirt soaking on the T-shirt soaking on the meme. I know it, I got mean, I know it. The fuck you want? There's no excuse. There's a fire going on, getting high off the fumes. Isn't it crazy to be human? To bear witness to the illusion of patterns, the illusion of order. To think that all this shit is normal.
Another wasted chance, another falling star in my hands, and I snuff it out. Another lifeless stand, another ray of light is me and hope, and I step aside. Please believe me. Falling down from the stars, doom spiral around me. I am so easy. Whoever you are, you can take whatever you need from me. In my heart, it's over. Feels like it never was. In my heart, it's over. The feeling I used to have is gone.
I spin around, I feel a bit shaky. I can't reach the ground, feet swim so helpless through air. Helpless through air. And I spin around, I feel a bit shaky. Can't reach the ground, feet swimming so helpless through air. Helpless through air.
Colorful, delicate like a paper star, shriveling in the heat of what we are. Burning up like an insect in the sun. I just wanna be useful to someone. Meet you at the end of time, the end of time, and we can live together. Meet you at the end of time, the end of time, and we will shine forever. All the empty words that I ever said, just like everything I ever really wanted, it all comes apart in my useless hands. All the empty words that I ever said, just like everything I ever wanted.
comes apart in my useless hands. Colorful dollar killer, the paper star, shriveling in the heat of what we are. Burning up like an insect in the sun. I just wanna be useful to someone. Meet you at the end of time.
Hey guys, welcome. How is everyone? So right now, luckily it's not flu or COVID or anything, but I am dealing with a cold, which is annoying, but it is what it is. Contending with a cold. Wait a minute, did it actually do what I asked it to? Oh, it did. Oh, so it just, huh. I should display music titles or something. Um, I mean, yeah, I could do something like that. Maybe if I was a more consistent, like, sort of streamer, which I would love to be, but isn't possible. So, I think there's like bots or fucking apps or whatever the hell it is for stream stuff that can actually show what music you're playing. Maybe I'm usually just playing whatever I find on YouTube. Sometimes I care if it's claim. I feel like it might impact my viewership. I don't know. So I don't see a problem with copyright claims because I don't monetize my streams for views because I don't get enough views for it to matter. Like most of my streams, even as after like a day or two of just being on my channel, will usually get like 200 something views. Luckily, many of which they actually watch a decent chunk of it or some portion of it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's something to think about. I mean, eventually, if this thing keeps growing, yeah, I'm gonna have to stick to music that I know will get claims and stuff. You can't really make any money off ad revenue off a video that like gets 200 views or a stream or something. That's like nothing. Like to even begin making any kind of revenue of any substantial amount. But yeah, I know some people like my taste in music. I just play a lot of the same shit that I know I won't get in trouble for. So yeah, Twitch is. The problem is like I've been fucking around with Twitch just playing on my iPad, and I'm down to talk because my microphone's on, but nobody really jumps on it. Even when I link it in the server, like nobody really hops on. Like I think last night I was on for like an hour and change, and like a second person didn't actually hop in until like after an hour went by, and I had put it on the server, so I was like, okay. But I can't do. I don't know. Maybe there's stuff I can do. Maybe there's something else I can figure out. I don't know. I gotta figure out what to do, like how to make it work. I just don't want to have this same setup on Twitch, right? I feel like on Twitch I should be like obviously playing more games and talking. Here I don't really do the whole game thing. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't mind that because, well, that's the problem. I don't know, man. I don't know what. Yeah, that's the problem with all that kind of shit. I feel like I'd be splitting stuff, but at the same time, it's better than not doing anything. Like I can't. Like I would stream. Like if it was realistic, I would stream every day. Like 5 hours or something, or at least like 6 hours, like 5 days a week or something, plus whatever else I do. I would spend a lot of time streaming, just talking and hanging out and seeing what conversations come to me and what bullshit rambles pop up or anything else. Like all that kind of stuff is really interesting to me. But Noam Chomsky, so good. But unfortunately, like I said, it's just not a doable thing at the moment. So I can only stream every so often. Every I usually stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday or Sunday, but it's been mostly Sundays. Let me get some background music here, because I hate when it's just so quiet. It feels like my thoughts are too, like it gets flooded with too much thinking. It's annoying. Hold on. Lord, I'll try to not let it be too loud or whatever. Come on, give me some full albums. There we go. Ooh, that's loud. That's loud. It's really loud. Let's see if we can make that significantly lower. Is that good? Can you guys hear it? Can you guys hear it enough? Like, is it fine? This is Abegorum lacrima corpus dissolvunt until my funeral began. Now that's the full fucking. Oh, that's 2 bands. Up to three bands working together. So Abegorum lacrima corpus dissolvens and Altum until my funeral began, and an album called The Call to Silence. Yeah, I know you don't have to game on Twitch. I know there's some people that like just draw or like play music and stuff. Yeah, maybe I could just carry it over. Like, that's the problem though. Like, if I go on Twitch, okay, I like to play games, right? I like to play TFT. I like to play League. I'm not particularly good at either, but I find them enjoyable to do. So I'm like, okay, I want to be able to do that a little bit on my tablet or my Switch or whatever before I go to bed. Kind of helps me unwind so I can get some sleep. Otherwise, I'm like, I can get too riled up about a topic and then like have trouble falling asleep or whatever. But I don't know. Whole thing's kind of difficult. I mean, I guess I could do like late night streams like almost every day, but then I won't get enough sleep. Like, if I was able to stay up till like 1 or 2 in the morning every day and still get like at least 6 hours of sleep, I would totally just stream late at night. But I got a 2-year-old that wakes me up at 6:30 a.m. every morning, so I don't really have that, like, and then other stuff that sometimes comes up, but I have to wake up early anyway, so I don't really have the luxury of doing that. I need at least 6 hours or I'm just non-functional. I mean, I'm barely functional with 6, but I'll be completely useless without 6 hours of sleep. Or something close to that. So yeah, it's a difficult balance, guys. No, for sure. Trust me, I would love to just be on here, just talking and chilling with other schizos and shit. And then, another problem too is, unfortunately, as much as I like streaming, let's just say more recently, I'm not bitching, but more recently, it just hasn't been very monetarily conducive to like spend more time doing it. So I'm trying to like find people and network to, because the videos I put out seem to get more traction, and the interviews and the videos I put out seem to get more traction and more people to say jump on Patreon or PayPal me and stuff more than the streams, I feel. Maybe not. Maybe in some cases, maybe that's not the case. But like, for example, like, I don't have any regulars or that, you know, obviously most of us aren't like fucking rich at all, so I haven't like established any regulars that like super chat all the time, except for a few. Like, one person that has done it like every so often just drops a 20 on me is Hinsog. Respect to Hinsog, thank you. But you know, it's just, and the super stickers aren't anything useful. I don't think the super chats are very conducive to like my demographic, because it makes your shit light up and gives it attention, and I doubt most of the people that listen to me are the type of people that like crave attention, so they probably don't like doing that. Asking people to go on PayPal and do it is like a stretch, because they maybe just don't have the energy or care to go like on PayPal or even have a PayPal account, right? Um, it's just it's rough. I know there's like a subscription thing, right? I don't know how that works on YouTube. Like people can like let me look. Like I know there's a way that like I don't even know if I have that turned on or if that's a thing for my channel. Let's see. I got a nice thumbnail now for that I'm gonna put on for my live stream thing, so it's not just like a random picture of me. So I think that looks better. What do you guys think of the thumbnail? I had an artist do it for me. It's kind of inspired by my ugly face. Mine is obviously, I think, not quite as beardy, combined with well, oh man, why can't I? What's wrong with me? Oh, so tired. Hold on, I'm trying to like. I was trying to find the name of the artist. Why can't I find it? I'll look for it later. But it's like Shota Aizawa from My Hero Academia, mixed with like some of my facial features, I guess, and then with an A in the back that says, you know, for angst. So I'm like, cool, I like it. And it was just like a small commission, and I was like, cool. And now I'm gonna use it as a thumbnail thing. But yeah, it's just it's so difficult to get any kind of revenue on this thing. And then recently, fucking stupid ass YouTube's just been like, I don't know, kind of fucking me with the little ad revenue I do get. Like, it's been giving me some weird fucking problem. I've been trying to figure it out. I'll figure it out soon, I'm sure. But so that's been kind of fucking with me a little bit. I don't know, just stupid shit, man. Just stupid shit. Stupid shit. Like, every motherfucker that listens to me is just as broke as I am. So it's kind of dumb. Like, it's kind of like difficult. I don't think I have very many wealthy listeners. Unfortunately, all the money's getting funneled into ASMRs and shit like that on Twitch and even YouTube. Licking fucking ear speakers and being hot is just, it's too hard to compete against. It's so impossible to compete. But whatever, because I feel like the only way you can get, I know it's kind of like depressing, but like I feel like it's not just that way, right? Obviously that's stupid, but like the two major ways, that's kind of the topic of today. I have a cold, so sorry if my energy's extra low. It's not like my energy's all that high most of the time anyway. The only way you can really make money on the internet, like in any consistent fashion, is well, like to get like crowd support kind of stuff, is one, obviously the easy route, but hey man, more power to them, and they can do it, which is, you know, sexualization, all that kind of stuff, whatever, who cares. So that stuff sells. The other thing that sells is feeding people's confirmation bias, feeding into like narratives and confirmation bias and cope, basically, like being a cope channel for some category or another. That's like the way to make money. You have to be a cope channel of some kind. Like, you have to be like a channel where it's like some larger demographic of people that are like desperate to get some kind of cope for some shit. And if you do enough of that, and you do enough shilling, and you do enough like cognitive dissonance talk, oh yeah, man, you can make some easy money. Like I could probably, at this point, I think, not when I started, but at this point, I think I've learned enough about how to speak on the internet, how to kind of communicate my ideas, how a lot of it functions, that I could probably make a moderately successful channel of just me feeding a specific type of cope or political or social advocacy talking points. I could probably like make a moderately decent working size channel for something like that. I think I developed enough know-how and understanding to like mask and fake it till you make it, and probably become some kind of like orbiter in those circles, and probably make some okay amount of revenue, or something of that nature. So like that's doable, but that's not what I want to do. That's fucking trash, like for me. No disrespect to everybody that does that, but whatever, man. It's just not my deal. It's nothing that I feel is conducive to fulfilling any sense of meaning for me. So, unfortunately, yep, not doing what sells, and that's what sells. It's fucked, but it is what it is. You guys, I mean, I'm sure you guys know that. I'm sure a lot of the people that do listen to my shit, like, know, like, grew up, like, most of my 20s was, like, internet, YouTube stuff. You know, I went through the entire, like, 2010s, 2000s, like, YouTube atheists versus theists, like, all that shit, you know, the beginnings of channels like Amazing Atheists and all that, and even before that. Like, I was in the early days of a lot of that stuff. I went through all the years of like, was it response videos, that whole deal, a couple of years of that, which it used to be that people didn't really get on streams and debate each other that much. It was more, the emphasis was like on well, I gotta sneeze. Oh, Jesus. The emphasis was mostly placed on, like, you do a video and then someone else would do a video debunking or criticizing or complimenting your video, and it was usually people of, like, with a smaller channel doing a video that had much bigger following, and then having a kind of opposing position, which would in turn bring them more people, because oftentimes that video essayist would or commentator would get pissed or frustrated with what the other smaller channels said about them, and it would just kind of go back and forth like that, and that would like serve to sort of grow a smaller commentary channel, right? Like, it just went on and on like that, and I went through that whole thing. Like, I was watching all that, I was seeing how it turned out and everything. All that was kind of interesting. Honestly, I think that environment was still way healthier than what we have today, in all of these debate circles and shit, because this stuff's cancer as fuck. It's fucking horrible, man. Like, so I went through all that, watching, like, I'll be honest, man, before starting my shit and stuff, like, I was just, like, absolutely addicted to just watching hours and hours of podcasts. Before the YouTube stuff got more long form, I was all about the podcasts. I was listening to a lot of podcasts, and then I moved on to video essayists, and then eventually moved on to streamers and stuff like that, and long form, all kinds of long form content that I would just have in the background while I would be playing games or reading something I liked or whatever. We just have it on, listen to it every like lunch break, because that would be like better than actually like interacting with anybody at work or before work or after work when I was waiting, especially if I was taking the bus or something. Last username. If you're on the server, I'd love to have you on so we can talk about the subject. Since you said you've tried it, I would love to discuss it with someone that's kind of given it a shot before doing like panel stuff. I'd be interested in talking. So, and if you want to, if you're on the server, that'd be cool. But in any case, oh, okay. Well, I'm in the annex, so you could just jump in. I'm muted right now and deafened or whatever. But in a second here, I'll open it up, and if you want to talk about your experiences with that, you know, you can keep it, anonymous or whatever. Anyway, so more recently though, I'm just really demoralized with the manner in which people interact with each other. There's very few channels. Because when a lot of these channels were not doing the stream thing, or there was a lot of channels that were just kind of doing the video essay stuff, yeah, there'd be a lot of channels that I thought, wow, this person's arguments, I don't agree with them all, but they're pretty reasonable. Oh, this person did this research, this person didn't. This person's takes are interesting, even though I disagree with them. Whatever, like, that was cool, right? So it was fine like that. Because they put on a persona of a reasonable sort of truth seeker type person, right, on their channel, right? Even if so when they would have holes in their argumentation, or they were kind of throwing out baby with the bathwater, or making like there was a fallacy or two, you still had the ability to kind of go, oh, give them the benefit of the doubt, right? Of just going, oh, well, maybe they didn't, maybe it's some kind of confirmation bias or some kind of cognitive dissonance or something that's active here that if they were made aware of, they might change their mind about or something, right? Or discuss, or willing to discuss or something. But because a lot of these YouTubers I was watching, they weren't really doing a lot of interviews or cross-platform stuff, right? They were just doing like their own video essays. And like I said, some of them were interesting, some of them were fun to listen to. It was cool to go on like 5 or 6 different channels in the same day, all with like 20-30 minute videos with different takes on a subject, right? And it was fun because you would watch all of them, and then you would go, well, most of these are similar, but there's some nuggets in there that were interesting, or I agree with some of this, don't agree with some of this, but this person said some of this, that was interesting, that's a take that I didn't think about, and so on and so forth, right? So, but when more recent, in the last couple of years, this culture of like, oh, the only way you're going to be big or grow your channel, your stuff, especially in the realm of social commentary, politics, philosophy, anything that even gets remotely contentious, the only way you can really grow big is to be on streaming platforms. Like, well, I mean, obviously YouTube, but Twitch, obviously, but also like being on their shows or doing stuff with them, or orbiting. This whole orbiter sort of culture started developing, right? Like people were just trying to like create content in order to get invited on, either for positive or negative reasons, right, onto other people's channels, so that they could, like, even if they have a shouting match, it's like conducive to growing their own channel or whatever. Even if everyone on that person's larger channel was like, they're stupid, blah blah blah, there's gonna be even if like 1% of the viewership of such a large channel goes, no, I actually like them, that's a huge, boost to their viewer count and their subscriptions and anything else, and even sometimes their revenue. So that whole dynamic it's turned a lot of subject matter into a fucking minefield of toxicity, dude, and I fucking hate it. I really get to see some of these YouTubers that I like thought, oh, their videos are pretty cool, even if I didn't agree with them, go on platforms and like have a quote unquote debate or conversation, and then they would just be complete fucking idiots on there, or they would just be like just completely bad faith pieces of shit, just relying entirely on rhetoric and just aggressive argumentation with little substance, just straw manning like crazy. Like it was horrible, man. Like, and you would see people's true colors on these things, and it was just nasty. And then you would see chat or whatever, people jump in on bandwagons, and tribalism was like ensuing like crazy. It would just be like, oh, my guy has a bigger dick than your guy, and it's just gross, man. And the moment people would actually like challenge each other in any reasonable way, the whole thing would devolve into screaming and going crazy. Like I know some people out there will probably be like, oh, this channel. No, I know that there's a channel out there that I really like, and not because they're so perfect, and because they don't fuck up sometimes, and they don't do some of the shit that I'm talking about, but because they're self-aware of it, and they'll look back and actually talk about when they fucked up, and then try to improve and make better decisions and stuff. And that's the channel that I like is PSA, Sitch, and Adam. Like, that's one of my top like 3, I guess, commentator channel streaming things. Just because they know they fuck up, and then they talk about it. And on top of that, today I watched this stream they had put up not that long ago, where they had, well, I don't know if you guys know all these people, but let me get hold on. It was so discouraging. It was like the most terrible shit. Like, I'm like, oh man, like it was terrible. Let me show you what I mean though. Let me see if I could find the part in the stream where Sitch, because Adam's an older dude. They always talk about stuff like Jonathan Haidt and elephants and writers and all that kind of shit. And Adam lets his elephant or his like feelings really get like out of control sometimes, and they kind of make fun of him. And then Sitch tends to be like sometimes a little more neurodivergent in some of the way they approach things. Like they can be they joke around about like being like probably a little autistic or something, but not in any kind of insulting way. It's just because they're very different than most people when it comes to the manner in which he likes to approach these internet debates and conversations and stuff. Yeah, here, this is the one. Let me see if I can put it up real quick here. 1 second. Yeah, this is it right here. Okay, so I was listening to this stream, and this stream was a fucking disaster. Their channel's like pretty decently sized. It's got like 42K, but it's nothing like crazy like a lot of these like big comment. In fact, the people they had on have way bigger amounts of people, and the situation was just fucking awful because they had Jimmy Dore, Kurt Metzger, and Dave Smith talking about the whole Ukraine situation or whatever. And I don't know, I some of you might be listening and going, what the fuck does this have to do with Schizoid, right? Like, or any of that stuff. For me, it's involved in the sense of the whole schizo spectrum stuff, because I just go, the way I approach a lot of these subjects and these things, and the way I talk to a lot of the schizos out there, and schizoids more specifically out there that are interested in this stuff, they tend to be a little more reasonable when it comes to like a lot of nuance and conversation, and not go just for the throat every time anybody says anything that disagrees with them, right? And start fucking ad homing and just going fucking bananas, and this is all kinds of stupid shit. There's all kinds of stupid shit. And not to say these guys never do that. Adam, he does that sometimes, but they talk about it afterward and they apologize. They say, you know what, I fucked up. I got a little too carried away, blah, blah, blah. And they're kind of self-aware of it, and they try to like police themselves. And they openly, transparently talk about how they try to police their own biases and their own like elephants, a la The Righteous Mind, Jonathan Haidt, and all that kind of shit. So I respect them. And I think it was right here at 3 hours. They do extremely long, which I love. It'll be like 8-hour videos, man. where it's an 8-hour stream where they go over like 2 videos extensively and have like really like they'll somebody will say a fact in a video essay, and then they'll like for the next hour they'll look it up and research it and talk about it, like that one fact or something sometimes, just to see if there's any validity to it and that kind of shit. Like, I respect that. I like that. It's fun. But anyway, Sitch, the entire this is Sitch, this guy on the left. The entire conversation, he was trying to just talk about the Ukraine situation in regards to a specific commentary that the Dave Smith guy said on his much bigger platform, which was it had to do with a Ukraine phone call. It's this whole mess. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not running a political channel, but it was this phone call and there was some kind of contention there, and Sitch had done like hours and hours of research. He looked up the original transcripts, all kinds of shit like that. Sorry, I have somebody walking in, just covering. So he had hours and hours of research, right, before he invited Kurt and Dave on. And then Jimmy Dore, which is like another big ass fucking political YouTuber and whatever streamer, he kind of just hopped into the mix, right, because he's friends with Kurt and Dave, and so I guess Kurt said, hey, you can jump on, and they were like, well, fuck it, Jimmy Dore's gonna be on, that's fine, whatever, right? And poor Sitch, man, it was a 1v3, right? Essentially, like, poor Sitch was like, hey, I'm gonna like really like study and research this shit and this topic and reread the primary sources, all this sort of stuff, and let's have like a cool conversation about this. It devolved into a complete shit show. Like, it was terrible. Like, it just went from like accusations to like with no context, like fallacies and all kinds of dumb shit, right? And one of the things they always talk about that I like is a term that they call it whataboutism, and they're even aware when they do it, and then they catch themselves, especially out of but they call it whataboutism, and whataboutism is when you're in a debate and somebody asks you a question, and instead of answering the question, you what about something. So if somebody says, what do you think about this problem, instead of talking about the problem, you talk about how somebody else failed at the problem, or how a different group that you don't like failed at that problem or caused that problem to become worse, instead of actually trying to provide any solutions or discussing the topic of how do we fix this problem. It's something like politicians do all the time, right? Constantly. And so they started saying, like, hey guys, to these 3 guys, like, you're just doing a bunch of this stuff, like, and it just turned into a goddamn mess, and people were yelling. I mean, like, I think there's a part, let me see if I can find it. There's a part where Jimmy Dore leaves because they bring up a subject that he doesn't like, and I'm like, what the fuck, hold on. It's just so discouraging, because I'm like, oh, this is going to be an interesting conversation. These people are really interested in these topics, and it just devolves into nothing. And poor Sitch is just like getting pissed because it's like, well, let's just talk about the information. Like, why is everyone jumping to conclusions and going all over the fucking place? Like, what's happening? Let me see if I can find it. Is this when the guy leaves? Hold on. Let me turn up the audio. I'll turn up the audio. And it's just so fucking, it's so depressing, because I thought this was going to be an interesting conversation. And I know, and I figured, okay, well, a lot of this stuff devolves into a mess, but with Sitch and Adam and these 3 people who supposedly have big channels and are professionals, like, at least, where the fuck did the video go? Oh my god, are you serious? It's just gone now? Hold on. Is it back? Okay, so I thought, okay, maybe this won't devolve into a fucking mess, right? I think I turned up the audio now.
Right there, yeah. So I sent you a picture, Adam, if you want to bring it up. One of the main piece of evidence that I see cited, that you cited, Dave, that Jimmy cited many months ago, about this claim that the U.S. coup to Ukraine was, as you said, the Victoria.
You're really going to debate this?
Yeah.
You're going to debate whether fucking the United States could Ukraine? You guys enjoy it. Take care, you guys. This has been fun.
Thanks for coming on, Jimmy.
Take care.
Okay,
and I really appreciate you saying
Listen.
I was funny. I think that I can. No matter who it is, if they find me funny, I have a spot for them in my heart.
If you say things
but I'm not
going to
do this.
Objectively false. You don't care.
I'm not going to do this. This is ridiculous. I'm not going to go black is white, in is out. And if the point of it is this
you don't
is
even know. You don't even know.
An economic proxy. So
you don't even know what I'm going to say about the Newland phone call.
No, what I'm just saying
cares
is
about Newland? I know
none of this matter.
You're
What
wrong.
Kurt is saying is right. It was that it doesn't matter. What's your end point? That we should be helping and spending $100 billion in Ukraine or not? We're there for the same reason we did Libya, for the same reason we did Iraq, for the same reason we did Afghanistan and Yemen, and now we're doing Somalia and Ethiopia for the same reasons. That's the same reason we're there. And any discussion about it is just stupid.
Jimmy,
I appreciate you and I thanks for having me.
I mean, Jimmy, before
true, because you and everyone else.
It's okay.
Everyone else brings this stuff up in your video.
It's okay.
If it didn't matter, you wouldn't bring it up.
It's okay. It's okay. It's good talking. Honest to God, you guys, you could have it out with Dave. Dave, he's doing a great job, and there's no reason for me to get upset. Okay, so
that's fine. I understand you don't want to, be fact checked or talk about anything.
Sid.
Hey,
You're
so
right.
maybe
Everything was wrong.
Hey, you
You're
want to
right,
have?
Sage.
Should we talk
You're
about
right.
if water is wet? Yes, we could.
Jimmy.
All right, I'm gonna take care.
Wait, Jimmy. Before you go, thanks for coming on. Come back on the show again sometime. We'll discuss. Take care.
don't think that's gonna happen.
Have a good Sunday.
Okay,
I'll be
Rush
honest,
is
Kurt.
wrong. Rush is wrong. Now that we've established Rush is wrong, what such as all the things Dave said are lies.
All right, so point is, this guy just leaves, right? Like, it's just so mind blowing because I used to watch some of Jimmy Dore's shit, because I thought, I don't agree with a lot of it. Oh shit, why am I on this fucking page? Wrong thing. I don't agree with a lot of it. But some of the jokes were kind of funny, whatever. And so I liked listening to stuff I didn't agree with. And then I would agree with some of it, and I was like, okay. But it was just weird, like, because I've seen him on other streams, and as long as it's like, it always gets heated, and you're bad and I'm bad, and blah, 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 and it always goes like that, right? But this time he was dealing with somebody that wasn't trying to accuse anybody of anything. They're just trying to talk about the subject, right? And as soon as the subject comes up, that they're told, you have this very strong stance on this thing, and I'm here to discuss why I believe that stance is incorrect based on the primary sources. It just bails. And then you got this guy Kurt just yelling and screaming, calling people stupid and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay. Dave is kind of, I don't agree with his take. He's like a narco-libertarian or a narco-capitalist. And I'm like, okay, I don't agree with everything you say, buddy. Like, but these three guys are like friends, and so they're like backing each other up, and there's like this weird social thing happening that's just gross. And it's fucking terrible. Like, I'm like, okay. And so the whole thing devolves into a fucking mess. Jimmy leaves, then Dave's like, oh, I have things to do, and he fucking leaves. Then the last guy, that's Kurt, he fucking just calls people stupid and uninformed when this guy right here tries to just talk about the subject, the phone call, the Ukraine thing, like just and anytime he tries to talk about some specifics, this guy says he doesn't care about specifics. They're stupid. Who cares? Because this and that, like super big vague shit, and it bordered on like unabashed conspiratorial stuff, like to the point where it wasn't like you weren't even discussing. Not conspiratorial, like, oh, I disagree with this, so it's conspiratorial. It was like, oh, I made some loose associations, and now I'm not willing to listen to whatever information you're providing, because my loose associations are my decision-making process. So I was like, oh, man, this is depressing. And it just went on and on and on like this, right? Hold on, let me disconnect this so I can actually look at it at the same time. Everyone fucking left. Hey, some Metastigma. God, see, I want to just talk about shit and I feel like everyone fucking leaves. This is boring. This is boring ass. This is dumb. This is boring. Fine, whatever. So, but this is what got me. This is the part. This is why I'm bringing this up. It isn't because of the internet drama or whatever. I don't care about that. This is what makes me sad. I think it's right here, 305. Sitch is like a normally chill dude, right? And he just loses his shit because he spent so much time trying to set this thing up, and it just devolved into a shit show with all these people that were supposed to be professionals on YouTube or whatever, talking like professional pundits, I guess. I think this is the spot.
Every single part of the conversation have to be explained
Contested.
in the most mind-numbingly simple way. Like, whataboutism isn't real. Oh, okay. So like let me give. Maybe this is how you have to do it, because this is how Destiny has to have some of these conversations where you say, oh, well, let me give you a hypothetical. If I'm a politician and someone says, Sitch, what's your plan to fight inflation? And then I just say, Joe Biden has totally failed to fight inflation. He totally sucks. Blah 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 blah. And I talk about how Joe Biden sucks for 2 minutes, and then I don't answer the question. That's a whataboutism. I didn't answer the fucking question. I just talked about someone else sucking at something.
Yeah.
And are you saying it's not real? Of course you know that that's real.
Yeah.
This is what gets me. Like Sitch spent a lot of time trying to prepare for this thing, and he just the type of frustration he kind of talks about right here. It's relatable. It's relatable.
I try to avoid it myself. People always call me out on it, and I think, God damn it, you're right. That is a fucking whataboutism. Jesus.
Sobek for $2 says the 4 horsemen of interruption.
Hold on, skip ahead a little bit. I think it's coming up.
The police, and they say, oh, the police are all corrupt and bad. The people that get into the police must be corrupt and bad. They look at like teachers and they say, oh, teachers are all lazy and bad. It must be that people that get into teachers are lazy. Okay. Oh, streamers, they get onto these panels and all they do is act like complete assholes to each other. Streamers must be assholes. What people don't understand is so many people enter these systems, the police, teachers, streaming, any job you want. So many people, most people I'd argue, enter into them. Idealist or with good intentions.
Yeah.
And what happens is a bunch of fuckwits who are around them, who are part of the system, chew them up and spit them out, essentially. Yep. And then that person becomes what the system is.
Yeah.
Okay. And this interaction is exactly why you guys can't have conversations where, like conversations like me and Aiden had and Spoon and Adam had about where we go back and forth on the facts. Okay, because most people aren't willing to do that. Most people want to go into this vague general bullshit and give their fucking bloviating talking points. And because they don't want to waste their fucking time researching. And even if they do spend time researching, it doesn't fucking matter because they already know the answer. Fucking Kurt saying that Reuters is a fucking planting a story 2 weeks before a leak because of fucking conspiracy is fucking insane. That's fucking stupid. That's batshit fucking insane. So why the fuck am I wasting my time talking to someone like that? And this is the problem, because streamers go in the situation and they realize this and they say, "Oh, I'm just going
never
forward.
Again."
Yeah, never again. Going forward, I'm just gonna fucking from the second go. I'm just gonna try to do gotchas. I could have had this conversation totally differently. I could have this conversation where I go and say, "Hey, you guys are fucking going on in audiences of thousands, if not millions of people spouting bullshit misinformation, and here's why you're fucking wrong." I could have had that conversation like that, but I chose not to. I was like, no, I want to be nice. I want to try to have some productive conversation. And they just spit on me for that. They said, no, fuck you, Sitch. We're not going to have a conversation like that. So no, this is the problem. It's hilarious to me that people like that dare to fucking complain about systems being corrupt and systems being bad when they're literally part of the fucking problem.
It's so true. It's so true. Yeah, no, they can't. Look, they can't even address factual information that goes against the narrative that their audiences want. It's funny when they rail on the mainstream media. I mean, they're doing basically exactly the same thing. How are they any different than MSNBC or CNN, who's like, we have to be anti-Trump 24/7 because we're getting rich off this shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Did Trump say something about bleach? Well, it kind of sounded like he did. Anyway. Well, I heard a good.
His rants out where he's like, this is the thing. Sitch is a guy who's usually pretty chill. He has his moments where he flips out, but
I was worried.
I could tell he's hurting on this one. He
kind of you had given up hope on your main channel, so I'm glad to hear that.
Oh wait, I think I missed the part where he got really fucking mad. Did I miss it?
It was
no,
just a
I was
little
literally
hiccup.
wasting my fucking time.
Yeah.
Preparing for this conversation.
There we go.
Wasting my fucking time talking to pieces of shit. I'm not talking to Kurt ever again. Fuck him. You know what? I'm done. I'm fucking done. Actually, I'll talk to him one more time just to call him a fucking piece of shit. I know you're friends with him, and you're like, oh, you know, blah 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 blah. Fuck it. I am so fucking pissed at his behavior in this, and I was so fucking nice to him, and he was being a fucking piece of shit to me the entire conversation.
Yeah, why was he doing that? I don't know.
Because he's a fucking piece of shit. Because he doesn't want to look at the facts. He's fucking no. Everything's a fucking conspiracy. So I'm done. I'm burning the bridge with fucking Kurt. I'm done with him. And I said this before, and I made the mistake of being like, no, I'm literally done. I'm not talking to Kurt ever again, except to call him a fucking piece of shit. I'm fucking done. Okay. It's fucking insane to me. It's fucking insane to me. Why am I wasting my fucking time?
Sitch.
No, I'm triggered as fuck because
I know. Let's just count to 10 here. Let's take a breath. Okay. Like if you never want, look, I'm 100% behind you. Kurt was completely disrespectful. If you never want to talk to him again, if you never want to have him on the show again, that's fine. I completely support you 100%. The thing is, let's just take a breath.
No,
let's formulate. Look, you did a lot of work, and nobody seems to have respected that. And the whole show, everyone in the show respects that. We got 1,500 people listening.
If I wasn't
every single one of them respect you.
If this was all we were doing was a stream, I would be pissed, but I wouldn't care that much. It pisses me off that I said, you know what? I'm going to make less money and help myself less by putting out main channel videos, which get way more fucking views. I'm not going to do that because I have to prepare for this stupid fucking conversation because I want to actually have the fucking conversation.
Right.
Okay. And that time was literally fucking wasted, was thrown into the fucking trash can for nothing. For fucking nothing. Just to have assholes bloviate at me and give me conspiracy theory fucking nonsense. And literally fucking run away from the conversation and refuse to talk about the fucking facts. Or when you do talk about the facts, they change the subject. They say, well, I don't really care. I don't really care. Well, fuck you, Kurt. I don't care about you. Like, this is fucking crazy. I'm done.
Anyway. That discouraging, just like, I get it. This guy has high standards. He's had conversations like that before that didn't evolve into nonsense. That's a thing. But with other smaller channels, right? He finally gets like some people on there that like, well, I mean, they've had people on there, they're pretty big, but he gets 3 people on there that I think probably have bigger channels than I do or whatever, and it's just a fucking shit show. And for me, is I'm just like, wow, that's the only way to be successful on any of these platforms is to be a big annoying piece of shit, like, or be sexy, like, that's about it. And the kind of well, it's not even about rudeness, right? Last username. It's the issue isn't about rudeness. It's about wasting time, not realizing the amount of bullshit that is going back and forth, and that the actual conversation devolves into like this weird sort of social competition instead of the subject matter that's being discussed. Yeah, sensational narratives that are easy to understand. That's what sells. Yeah, it's fucking gross, man. Like, this is probably why I like their channel so much, because they do such long form stuff. They do like 8 fucking hours. where they get into every nook and cranny that they can about something that they're discussing. I mean, I watch streams in which like they make a certain point. Oh yeah, everything's Holy Wars, exactly. They make a certain point early in the stream that later in the stream they discovered they were wrong, and then they say, "Oh well, it turns out we're wrong," in the same stream. I respect that kind of shit. I don't mind saying I'm wrong. I don't mind talking about what I said wrong or any of that stuff. Oh, are you? Okay, cool. Let me hop you in. I'm down to talk. It doesn't show you're in. Are you sure you're in the Annex live stream thing? Because hold on, let me see. Oh, you're on the wrong one, dude. It's the one that says Annex live stream. I would have let you in sooner. There you go. All right, cool. But I didn't see it. All right, hold on a second here. All right, what's up, dude? Last username. Welcome.
Hey.
How's it going? Have you been on before?
Nope.
Oh, okay, cool.
First time caller.
First time caller, right? I love that first time caller shit because obviously that's not even a thing anymore because no one calls in by like phone number. But I love the first time caller shit because it just takes me back to my like I used to listen to shit like Loveline and like Coast to Coast AM and all that kind of stuff with George Norrie, Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie, and all those kind of shows. Welcome to Loveline, and I grew up on that shit, so it was cool. Then that was like I would say that's the earliest radio. That's how fucking old I am, but also how long I've been at the commentator listening thing. Is I've been doing it since before podcasts, when it was still on radio, and then podcasts, and then streamers and YouTube and everything else that came with it. I've been following that shit for like, I guess 2 decades now. So
you've been following it or doing it for that long?
No, I've been following it. I've only done this sort of shit for like 2 years, man. And I've only like gotten comfortable with it in the last year or so. But I've been studying and listening to people, and I learned through conversation. I don't know why, which is ironic considering the schizoid diagnosis, but I learn my strongest way of learning anything and retaining information is via a speaking format. So listening to talks, listening to conversations, listening to speeches, listening to podcasts, all that kind of stuff, or even teachers. Like I would never have to write notes in most of my classes. As long as I like adamantly paid attention to the professor, I could retain a lot of the information without, but it's auditory. For me, it's always been an auditory thing. Yeah.
Is that unusual for a schizoid?
Only because, okay, this is what's unusual about it for a schizoid, is that in order to get more out of it, it requires me to have more conversations, right? And having conversations is not exactly conducive to my mental health sometimes, because it often leads to feelings of alienation and other things, because I feel like I can't express myself outwardly in any capacity, which in turn, makes me pathologically just lock myself internally up and mask like crazy in order to have access to these conversations in which I learn things, right? So in that sense, I don't think most schizoids are out there looking for conversation. I'll say that much. I'm an oddball in that sense. But anyway, so what I've seen you on my channel before and whatever. What brought you to my channel? Like, how the hell did you find this shit? Anyway, I'd like to know, just because then I know where people are coming from.
How did I find your channel? I assume I was just looking for info about schizoid and probably just searching for schizoid.
Are you diagnosed or?
No. I mean, maybe self-diagnosed.
Yeah. I don't purity test this shit. I don't care.
I kind of stumbled on this whole idea, like fairly recently, and pretty much randomly, and it just kind of jumped out at me because it was like a really good description of my personality. It's like the criteria for this,
at least the outward
personality
description,
disorder,
right?
exactly
The outward stuff.
how I was describe myself all the time, right? Yeah, at least the
Yeah, they got a lot of the outward
which
stuff.
is very surface level. But
Yeah. The inward stuff is all kinds of fucked. Like I don't got any of that shit down right in most cases. I'm confident enough to say that they got that stuff all kinds of messed up. But anyway, that's cool, man. That's cool you found this. So tell me a little bit about the your experience with just like being on internet panels and fucking around on those and debating with people.
yeah, I kind of got into that maybe a few years ago. I got into it. I guess I started watching stuff, and I've always been a guy who likes to think a lot and likes to argue and debate. And I got into it like that, and I found that it didn't. There are aspects of it I liked and I thought were really positive, and aspects that were really negative. Like the positive aspect is that I think it encourages a culture of being of talking through differences, right? Of people who it sets a good example when you see two people who radically disagree with each other talking.
It would be nice if that's what it was. Yeah.
Well, it is. I mean, they're not killing each other.
No, I know, but they're yelling through differences. They're not talking.
Well, but that's better. So that's better than killing each other.
No,
A,
absolutely.
Or
absolutely.
B, throwing up their arms and walking away and just being like, you're a monster. I can't talk to you because you're hurting my feelings, or you're evil, so I can't talk to you. Like they actually will engage with each other, even if it
turns into them saying I'm leaving and you're a monster and like all those things you just said. Like it oftentimes turns into that at certain points.
I mean, it's the people I see on panels are much more open to talking than the average person I encounter on the street, right? Like, I don't know, maybe this is, I live in Canada, so people are a little more sort of polite and reserved here. It's pretty hard to, it's kind of rude to argue with people, to express your opinions. And people are very, very careful, very hesitant to get into an argument or everything, because disagreeing is seen as like impolite or rude and I don't like that.
What's up with Canadians and streaming? Like so many of the philo, like a lot of the like streamers that I listen to, like a lot of them are Canadian. It's like so weird. Like I don't know how many Canadians I listen to, but like there's a lot of Canadian streamers that do pretty decent for themselves.
I mean, Canadians are, they're pretty much just like Americans, and we're, probably about 10% the size of America.
Maybe they're slightly more charismatic online or something.
There's a little bit less to do here. I don't know, there's something about Canadians that like talking and they like comedy, apparently. We're not allowed to do so. We have more time to sit around talking.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. It's just a ability to conversate for extended periods of time. Maybe, I don't know.
But I feel like the online debate thing, it sets a good example. It shows people like you should be able to have discussions with people and then not become enemies and not get upset and control your emotions. Right? It's like teaching you how to talk and not lose control of yourself. And it also sets an example of like, you should be able to defend your opinions against criticism, right?
Yeah, you're talking the classic what is it called? The Jesus, there's a term that's often used. The battle of, not a battle of wits, but Jesus, what is it called? The whole kind of overall meta, having conversations to figure out problems, and man, I can't think of the term right now. I think you might know what I'm talking about, but it's that culture of debate and conversation over, like, obviously physical altercation and everything else. If you think of it, please tell me. I can't remember the term.
I'm not sure what specific term you're looking for, but I know what you mean, right?
Marketplace of ideas. Thank you, Paul Brown.
Yeah.
The marketplace of ideas. That's what people like to refer to it as. Yeah.
Right. So I think that's good. I think people need to learn how to have discussions, and sort of keep them contained and civil. And they need to learn how to get used to the idea of defending their beliefs instead of their beliefs being this kind of private, untouchable thing that people are not allowed to, that like people are not allowed to question. Instead, your beliefs are something that you should, if you're a respectable person, be prepared to defend against criticism from someone else. I think that's healthy.
Do you think most people
healthy.
are respectable in that way? Even the ones that participate in online debating?
Respectable? What do you mean? I mean, they do that better than the average person. Right?
I don't know. I don't know that I agree with that. Only because some of the people with the largest followings that do this for a living do exactly the opposite. Right? They don't show up to have a conversation or any kind of debate in which they will be defending their ideas in any capacity. They show up to steamroll people, not defend their ideas, or maybe are fully aware that their ideas aren't exactly, don't have much cohesion, don't care about that, rely entirely on rhetoric and charisma, and then steamroll people that aren't as skilled in those things, that might have a much better argument, but don't have the ability to present good enough argumentation in a social kind of space.
Yeah. So that is an issue, right? There are some let's say sort of irrational techniques, some non-respectable techniques that tend to dominate over.
Yeah, dominate, exactly. They dominate they dominate, but they also dominate the field. They dominate in viewership. They dominate in following. They dominate in attention grabbing. They dominate in every category that could actually lend itself to any kind of paradigm shift in any part of society. And that's what's discouraging.
For sure, there are ways to argue that they're not productive.
Sophists.
But they do tend to dominate over other techniques that are productive, but they get sort of steamrolled.
Yeah.
So that's bad. That's the downside of that.
But it's a pretty big downside.
It's better. It's a start, right? It's progress towards a culture of discourse. And the best you can do against that, I think, is to, like, people are always developing techniques. I think those sort of sneaky dominant techniques, there's usually some way to counter it with a more a rational technique, with a productive technique, and you just have to find it.
No, it's not easy. It's not easy because usually
it's an ongoing.
Like you have
a frontier of research, right?
Yeah. But you have to develop techniques.
Inventing ways to have more productive discussions.
Yeah, but you have to use their techniques against them, which are distasteful. Like
I don't think you have to.
I don't know that there's a way to convince an audience that's listening, because you understand, right? The whole, when you debate, it's not to convince the other person; it's to convince the audience that's listening. Or the people that are listening. It's not about, because trying to actually convince someone of anything is very, very difficult unless that person's incredibly open. The problem is that tribalism isn't being like kind of taken into account here, right? Mob mentality and everything else associated to it. This is kind of my argument against sort of what part of what you're saying is that, even though it is seemingly producing an environment in which, we're choosing conversation over, hitting each other with clubs, the other problem with it is that it also legitimizes bad argumentation and really bad and dangerous fucking takes sometimes, because it intellectualizes them. And it presents them as being rational and reasonable when they're often not as such.
I mean, look at it this way. Is there an alternative to discussion? Like, so discussion doesn't always go well, and there are counterproductive techniques that can dominate. Do we have any other option but to try to refine?
Refine discussion. Absolutely. Refining discussion.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Refining discussion is 100% the direction that needs to be taken. But unfortunately, that's kind of a fucking Herculean task, right? It's Sisyphean in many cases. And I can see why a lot of people just give up. And kind of like Sitch was saying in that rant of his, that an idealistic, good faith person that goes on the internet to try to have these conversations discovers very quickly that it's not conducive to, one, producing viewership or revenue, two, winning actual debates on the internet, because people don't seem to give a shit about that stuff. And the stuff you're describing is unfortunately something of a niche, I feel, within those that participate or partake in this sort of discussion-based debate on the internet, right? Even those that participate as well as those that watch it. Maybe I'm just being too pessimistic, but I don't think I think I'm being pretty realistic. I don't think.
Oh, I mean, I fully sympathize. Like this is why I lost interest in it, because I kind of got fed up, and
you got black pilled on
frustrating.
It. Like you just.
But at the same time, I don't like. I'm tired of doing it, but I don't think that there's any other way to progress than for people to keep working on that.
Yeah, I mean, I
may not contribute to it anymore at the moment, but
well, maybe you should get back to it.
Well,
but yeah, I
got other things to contribute to.
No, of course not. Yeah, like my PayPal. But in any, you like that segue?
Yeah.
So PayPal, Patreon, if you like the stream, if you like anything else, please support the channel. Please support my server. Please support everything I'm doing. It isn't just debating and talking about subjects like this. My main emphasis is schizospectrum, schizoid advocacy, and I guess at this point, as people have pointed out, I'm kind of an activist, which is weird because I never thought I'd be an activist for fucking anything. But that's kind of what I am. Okay. So it's difficult to not, because I've talked to a lot of people on the server and outside of that, and I've seen people on Reddit, they get so discouraged by this sort of back and forth that they kind of give up, right? And the people that are the most, involved in these circles are the people that aren't interested generally in any kind of truth seeking of any kind. Like those are the people that have the most
interested.
They're not interested. The people that spend the most amount of energy, effort, everything else, I don't think are interested in it. At least not in the sense that they don't think they are. They might believe they are, but they're not actually participating in the type of conversation that is productive and conducive that you're sort of describing would be ideal.
The problem is, even if they go in interested in discussion, seeking truth, they inevitably they have to be interested in growing an audience, because that's the natural selection.
Yeah, I'm interested in growing an audience. I'm interested in growing an audience. Like that's what I'm trying to do.
What grows an audience is not always aligned with what makes productive.
It's fucking gross, man. Like that. And how is that not supposed to be like completely discouraging and demoralizing for an individual like trying to do something?
It certainly can be. Yeah, it can be. There are some streamers who are appealing to their audience precisely because they try so hard to be productive, and then there are other streamers who just go for like the easiest. They just want to get dunks, destroy people, debates, and they attract an audience who are into that.
But that's what gets you most humans to watch you. That's why it's so discouraging, because it's like, okay, so why is it that many circles on the internet, as well as just real life, and many institutions only just keep keep showing me evidence that most human beings are fucking trash, and the world is trash to interact with a lot of the time. Like I hate it, because I try to be optimistic, and it's really difficult to retain any kind of optimism at times.
I mean, so when you say most humans are trash, I mean, most humans are looking for.
No, I know. That was hyperbole. I'm not saying they're actual trash or dehuman. I'm not dehumanizing people. I'm not trying to fucking say that. Like I'm saying more like disappointing. A lot of human behavior is incredibly disappointing, not because it occurs, but because it's never self-aware. It's rarely self-aware, and it doesn't like to learn, and it doesn't like to grow. That's.
I think it helps. I think it helps to understand what people's real motivations are.
Oh yeah,
I understand why
I know
they're doing that, so that you can see that, because it's rational when you understand what their actual incentives are, and that might make it. I don't know. It might help to alleviate your loathing of people. Maybe it's still.
I try so hard to alleviate. I don't really have a loathing of people as in they're malevolent. I have a loathing of humanity as in it's just so unwilling to learn and grow in so many ways. They're just not willing. They're not willing to partake in what I like to term productive suffering. Right?
Yeah, they're disappointing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a lot of schizoids feel that way. So.
They're not really trying to learn. What they're looking for. I mean, they're looking for entertainment. They're looking for, feelings of excitement, of having, of like following some charismatic leader. They're looking for simple explanations they can use to understand
further their own resource gathering and social climbing and interpersonal connections and everything else. Like that's what I mean.
The truth is not actually that valuable to people. It is some truths are valued to people. Truths about like their immediate life.
It's contextual. It's contextual to their own interests, right? People are fighting for their interests.
And most of the things that people debate about are things that don't affect the average person directly, right? Debates about economic policy
or Ukraine, for example, the whole Ukraine situation.
Sure, like foreign policy, anything like that. What some Joe Schmo believes about those issues is not going to affect Joe Schmo's life really at all. So they're not looking to find out the truth about those things. They're looking to find out
not immediately, as you well know, right? Some of Joe Schmo's beliefs about how it's not going to impact them are deadly incorrect because it will.
In aggregate, since like everyone being ignorant about that does have an effect, but if one individual says, "I'm going to go through like all the work of finding out how those things really work and learning, like,
that's just a personal
ignoring all
the
sensational fun stuff and the simple explanations, then they end up spending a lot of work learning about it, and then what do they get as a reward? They can't actually do anything. They don't have any power to use that knowledge to fix anything. Now they know the truth, but they're still, it doesn't affect their life, right, materially. So that's why people don't do that.
What's interesting is just to bring it back to the subject matter that this channel is kind of focused on in relation to this is that I'll let you sit on this question for a second because I'm going to grab a drink, but I want to discuss a little bit further this point is how much of my, even in my case or your case, how much of our neurodivergency as far as the focus and the intuition to place more value and emotional connection to things of a more abstract nature, do you think plays into how invested a lot of people and oftentimes schizoids become in things that are conceptual, right? Like, and so then it's like, how much of it, here, better yet, I'll say it this way. How much of it is me getting worked up and depressed and frustrated and angsty about people not giving shit about the things I care about, and how much of it is actually because those things matter? That's kind of what. Well, sit on that for like a second. I'll be right back.
Okay. I'm not sure I entirely understood that question. But so schizoids are interested in abstract things. What I wonder is, are schizoids? I'm just sort of thinking out loud, audience, by the way. I know he can't hear me. But I've always wondered, are schizoids interested in abstract things because there's something about their brains that makes them more interested in abstract things, or are they just not distracted? Are they just interested in those things for lack of interest in the things that neurotypicals are interested in? Like, since you don't get any joy from being interested in social relationships or whatever, or the sort of values that society has kind of provided for you, by default, you end up interested in all this sort of abstract stuff because that's just what's left over when you take away the other stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of wondered that. Sounds like something's happening there.
Your argument today was that you took out all the trash. No, I took out the trash in the room.
Sounds like an argument about taking out the trash.
All right, so here we go. I'm back.
Oh
God, you guys could hear all that?
Oh, that's all I heard. Something about taking out the trash.
Oh, okay, no, because like it's just me and the wife arguing about silly, normal domestic shit, right? Anyway, so yeah, go ahead, man. I'll let you talk for a second. Yeah, go for it.
I've always wondered, am I interested in abstract stuff just by default because I'm not interested in so I don't get any joy from social stuff or as much joy.
Usually,
I say in abstract stuff by default.
The term I like to use is equidistant because it's between the poles of like autism or concrete, hyper concrete, and hyper abstract, whatever.
So is it like, am I interested in the abstract stuff because the concrete stuff is not distracting me, or am I not interested in the concrete stuff because the abstract stuff is distracting me? Because I'm more interested in it, right? Like maybe those are the same thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, but so repeat your question again.
How much I'm relating it back to myself because it's just easier. How much is my me getting worked up, depressed, upset, angry about like these conceptual problems? Say, in this case, the manner in which the debate world, as we know it today, which exists on the internet, it's like the what is it the not a call what was the debate version of a Coliseum, the talking hall, the Greek,
the forum,
whatever. I know the amphitheater or whatever it was called. Is the internet, right? And why is it? Am I getting preoccupied, distressed, bothered by the amount of bullshit and everything that's occurring because of my, say, neurodivergentness? And it's just my personal problem, and I have to accept that the world is just not going to kind of put any value on that in any way that would make sense to me? Or are these things that I'm wrapped up in actually important, even to the neurotypical population? That's my question.
It seems like they're important to the neurotypicals too.
No, but I'm saying is finding solutions to these problems actually important to them? Because they're not really interested in these problems. So is it just my problem, or is this an actual problem?
it certainly seems to be something that a lot of people are concerned about. Different people have different sort of prescriptions for what to do. Some people want to shut it all down. Some people don't. But
I think it's a
I don't
very
think that's
small
I don't think you have to
portion
be
of the population that's actually interested in this, like more meta
concern with the state of discourse. I think that's like a really common concern these days.
I
see all kinds of stuff about like that democracy's failing because
those are often
either because there's not enough talking about ideas or because there's too much talking about ideas.
No, but oftentimes those are put. What's hilarious is that those are often used as talking points to guide specific sort of needs and ambitions that have nothing to do with the concern itself, right? This, especially something like the failure of democracy, or democracy is on the ropes or whatever. Like anytime
that usually happens with any real issue, though, right? People who have some ambition will look, oh, there's this issue. How can I use that issue to further my ambition? But that doesn't mean it's not a real issue that people are concerned about.
Yeah, but if they're not dedicating any actual time to it, it seems to be of very little value to most people. And what's weird is that, like, my schizoid ass, and a lot of the schizoids and schizo spectrum people that I talk to, they're not sitting at home depressed and they're not in a fetal position, muttering to themselves some days or just wishing they were dead because they don't have enough interpersonal connections, or they don't have enough things in their local life that could be better, like money and status, and they're not sitting in their fucking rooms depressed about stuff like that. They're sitting in their rooms depressed about like this meta shit that, like you said, isn't going to have a direct impact on their immediate life, right? They're like, I've spoken to so many people that are like, they don't bother looking to connect to people or working or doing all kinds of stuff that would be conducive to improving their immediate station in life, right? Because they don't see the point, because against the backdrop of these abstract concerns that seem to have no solution and are super, super blackpilling, they rather just not move.
Okay. So I'd say that if you find yourself like, if you can't get out of bed because of the state of discourse in the world,
yes,
then you need to dig deeper and see if there's some more personal reason perhaps that you can't get out of bed.
But what if that's not that's my point. That's my argument, is that might usually be the case in a lot of situations. But I think in the case of a lot of people that I speak, a lot of the schizoids, not just the ones I speak to, but the ones I've seen comment, the ones that have emailed me, the ones that have like dropped fucking walls of text on me, or dropped walls of text on my server and has said things. They're talking about it not in a way that that's part of the problem. Oftentimes when a psychologist is dealing with somebody that's neurodivergent, especially if they don't understand that there's a different sort of cognitive system at work here, they're going to think that the value that those people are placing on things outside of their individual self are merely redirections of what is actually important to them, right? So and so one of the things I'm posing here is I can't really think of too many personal reasons like that I am upset or bothered by these things so much, right? When I wake up in the morning, even if everything in my interpersonal life was going exactly as planned and great, my dysthymia is not going anywhere. It's because there's problems that don't have solutions, and there's parts of the world that are built in a certain way that just I hate taking part in it. I hate waking up. I hate seeing the TV. I hate looking at the city. I hate looking at a lot of human interaction. It's discouraging and demoralizing and depressing, and I can't no amount of how good my life is going is going to make that any better.
So you're asking, is there something about like schizoids or other
Schizo spectrum,
means
yeah, or even like in autism,
that sort of
right? They have
condemns
their
them
own.
that condemns them to be concerned about these abstract things for reasons that are not simply redirection and reasons that are not.
Well, I'm saying
that are
that
inescapable.
I'm saying that's what happens. You can disagree with that. I'm saying that that's what often happens. What I'm saying is that how much of that is unjustifiable, like in regards to like trying to fix these problems. Like,
what do you mean by justifiable?
Like, how to explain this? Not justifiable. Sorry, it's probably a bad word. How irrational it truly is it for that person?
Ooh, I mean, to figure out whether it's rational, you need to figure out what your goal is.
Yeah, what if their goal is abstract? And if their goal is abstract,
well, then
it's perfectly
then
rational.
Obviously,
right?
being concerned about the abstract is perfectly rational.
Yeah.
But I think probably a big part of the challenge for any schizoid is figuring out what are your goals, what are your values, what do you want. That's my problem.
A lot of the things I want aren't achievable, so I have to be practical and pragmatic about what I can achieve.
None of the things you want are achievable.
No, like completely
you want
achievable.
All these big abstract things.
Yeah. So these things can't happen in my lifetime. Most of them, right? They're not occurring within my short lifespan. If I was an elf that lived 700 years, maybe I could be more optimistic about it happening within my lifetime. The best I can do is get the ball rolling in some degree or another, and hope to God that after I'm dead, some of what I did would inspire another person to keep that ball rolling. That's about all I can do, right? So
yeah, I mean, I think here, like what you're talking about is kind of similar to the kind of problems that I'm trying to figure out. Like, what is? I do have a tendency to adopt, to be concerned about sort of big, like saving the world type problems, and I have trouble even figuring out, like, I know I'm supposed to be concerned about my own life first, but I'm not entirely sure what I'm supposed to be concerned about, other than saving the world, because I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, the only reason I'm concerned about my immediate life, I'll tell you two reasons. Reason number one is because I stumbled into falling in love with someone and having children that I love now, right? So that's reason number one.
Yeah.
I stumbled into it. This wasn't an active goal of mine in my youth, right? I stumbled into it. I got lucky. It was just circumstance. It happened, but it opened up all sorts of things inside of me that were useful. Okay, good. Number two, the other reason is because of my whatever type A spit and vinegar personality traits that I have, which is I want to like die fighting. So whatever that is, whatever made me want to just die fighting and angry and bitter, not do nothing, but do something to make some kind of change of whatever kind I can. Those are the two things that keep me alive. That's it.
Well, hello. I lost like the last 10 seconds.
Oh, no. I'm just saying those are the two things. My ambition to make a change toward my abstract, ideas, my idealism, I guess, to some degree. And it is the only thing that, and my stumbling into a family, essentially, it is the only thing that keeps me on Earth functional, right? I think that if I didn't stumble into having a wife and kids to keep me motivated and living, I would have either backflipped or become some black-pilled homeless guy under a bridge. Like that would have been what had happened. Now, luckily for me, I found this, so now I feel ambition. Because I feel hope, because I found people that are interested, right? But
so your ambition comes from your family, you think?
Well, my initial ambition to keep functioning came from my family, but I was still constantly suffering on a existential level because I couldn't find anything to help me find a sense of ambition, a la meaning, right, for my existence, outside of, I have to my love and responsibilities for those that I've developed a connection to, right. I needed like this kind of work meaning, like this, why get up in the morning outside of this, like something for myself, you get me, to some degree. And I didn't have that for 30 plus years. And so now I have that, right? And that's what keeps me going even further. But
and that turned out to be the sort of saving the world.
Yeah, but I came to terms, not saving the world, because that's absurd.
Well, it's hyperbolic.
Yeah. But like part of it was coming to terms with how much can I realistically do, and to what avail. And one of the things that frustrates me when contemplating and discussing these sort of problems is that, like, people like yourself seem incredibly reasonable to me, and other people I've talked to, other schizoids and stuff. So one of the things I've been trying to promote is schizoid ambition, right? Or schizo ambition. And unfortunately, the only way to promote these big idea value systems that a lot of people on this side of the fence have, is by finding a way to concretize effort, right? And the only way to do that is to build a community, gather these people together, fill them with a sense that they can make some kind of change or difference, have them function together within the context that they are comfortable in to make a change, that sort of stuff. And
how does community help concretize their effort?
Because they find relatability and support amongst each other and camaraderie where they could find none otherwise. Right. So when people want to make a change, right, the individual, unless they're just that skilled and oftentimes Machiavellian, they're not going to make any major change on their own. If anything, even the most charismatic individual has to use others to make any kind of proposal or paradigm shift over the course of decades, right? So what happens is you always need community, right? The individual, as much as we have our love and concern and hate and resentment in this kind of abstract realm, the individual, no matter how much they want and wish and shout at the skies and yell at God, they're not going to make any kind of major change unless, I guess, they're a prolific writer. But even in that case,
it kind of depends what you're working on.
Yeah. But even in that case, even if, like, say you're a writer, right? Even if you want to say Nietzsche or something, or any one of these people, they would be nothing as far as when it comes to any kind of shift in thinking and any kind of influence in humanity, if it wasn't for the humanity actually reading the book, talking about it, and being influenced by it, and thus creating a community of individuals that make decisions based on these ideas, right? And if that didn't occur, if that community didn't occur, these actual changes of a substantial level within civilization would not happen, right? That writer is only partially to blame for those actual changes that occur. It requires a community to actually implement them, right? To realize the value of those things and then implement those things. So
yeah.
So my point.
I mean, eventually,
you
had to write it first.
It could be posthumously, yeah, for sure. But yeah, of course, they have to write it first, right? But my point.
I mean, it kind of depends, like, what, a lot of things you're working on are obviously going to require a lot of people involved.
No, involved in creating it. No, you're right. It could be one person. But
if you're trying to like discover a new mathematical proof or something, then mostly that's going to be just about sitting down and crunching numbers or whatever it is.
Yeah, but it's also going to require people caring about it,
to support you and stuff. But at the end of the day, all that really matters is whether you solve that thing.
No, absolutely. But you need a community to even achieve it, right? Let's just say even a scientific venture of some kind.
Well, I mean, when you're done, you might need a community to sort of like look at it and
it depends on the type of research, right? So in other words, if you certain types of research requires a lot of money, a lot of resources, grants and otherwise, you can't achieve them without institutional backing. And the only way you can do this is by creating a community of individuals that are advocating and talking in favor of doing this research, and then attract enough attention to create a funnel of resources into that thing in order to lift it up to in some way. Like, that's the only fucking way anything works, right? And so in my mind, I go, okay, the only way to kind of promote the idea of uplifting individuals that are preoccupied with all these abstract concepts, so that maybe you could, like, I guess I'm arguing that you can both alleviate this group of people's suffering to some degree, and also use that alleviation and their own talents and manner of thinking to uplift specific aspects of discourse and problem solving, right? By actually placing some value on the things that they preoccupy themselves with, because there could be a discovery that would otherwise not be found, right? Like a kind of it. I guess an example of this would be in the autistic world. In my mind, it's kind of like someone that's on the autism spectrum that's, say, preoccupied with a certain type of, okay, let's just say the easy one, right? Mathematics, right? So if they're preoccupied with a certain theorem or physics or whatever, right? The reasons for their preoccupation might be almost borderline indecipherable for a neurotypical person, unless they're like well versed in the subject matter, right? But the discoveries that individual makes, right, and the things that they find in the process of their own conceptualization of what it is they're even doing, right, by supporting them, you are then producing results that can oftentimes funnel back as beneficial to the more comprehensible or majority realm, the equidistant realm. And yeah, and yeah, sorry, I'm going off on rants here. Jesus.
Well, isn't what this sort of schizoid personality largely about, from what I can tell, about sort of not being able to absorb values socially the way that other people do? That you can't just sort of take on the values of society as easily as other people, and so you're left
society as a whole, like
being like
the commonality of most humans in their involvement in civilization. Is that what you kind of mean?
Like, you can't just care about something because everyone else cares about it. Like, I think humans have this ability to like figure out what other people around them value and evaluate themselves and care about it. If everyone else is like really wants like a red sports car, they're going to want a red sports car. And being schizoid is largely about not having that part of the brain or whatever it is. And you're like, you just look around and be like, why does everyone want this stupid fucking car? Like, and
this
car
like isn't even that efficient, and this car isn't even like worth the price, and this car isn't. No, but see,
and then you're like, and then you're left with like, well, so, and you realize like without all those things, there's you're really kind of lost about what I'm supposed to care about if I can't care about the things that everyone else cares about. So
this is why you need the community.
Say that,
this is why you need.
Well, but when you say that you need the community to value what your abstract pursuits, isn't that precisely the problem? That
they don't have to value your particular pursuit, right?
They just have to value your abstractness in general.
Yes, to find a relatability amongst human beings, as outliers they may be.
So a common value in your disparate values.
Yes,
in other words.
Exactly. So it's a common value system, right? Like, for example, within the neurotypical world, there's an emphasis on the social, right? The interpersonal, more accurately. And so because of that, different people have different value systems in regards to what they deem to be priorities within the interpersonal world, right? But nonetheless, most human beings can interact or understand one another when they're discussing or their emotional connection to that interpersonal world, right? So yes, you don't care about my family the way I care about my family, but I know you care. You are more likely to care about your family the same way I care about mine. Okay, like the interpersonal connections. So when you get two people or more that have this kind of what I theorize to be more abstract kind of connection to things, conceptual, emotional connection to things. If you find other people that are experiencing the same thing, even if it's a different kind of field or a different matter entirely, even if you disagree, right? You are still going to be emotionally connected with positively or negatively to the interaction with that person instead of just pure emptiness and alienation. So yeah, you get what I'm saying?
Idea.
Yeah, I mean it's what I've been fucking posing.
People who share the common
forever.
interest
Yes.
of having completely unique interests.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like they've discovered research enough. There's enough research so far to have discovered that even like they used to believe that autistic people were like sociopaths, right? They used to believe that autistic people were unemotional, that they were completely disconnected from their feelings, right? And that they were just like these kind of almost automatons of like special interest and specific function. There used to be this kind of thought on that pertaining to this type of neurodivergency when it comes to autistic people, but as time goes by, they discover, oh no, these people definitely have an array of emotional connections that travel in the same format of happy, sad, glad, joy, all that kind of shit. And they definitely have empathy, affective empathy, right? They used to think that autistic people they didn't have effective empathy, right? They only had at best cognitive empathy, right? They used to think that autistic people didn't have theory of mind, right? So as they put more autistic people together, they discovered they were deadly wrong, right? As they put more autistic people together, they were like, oh shit, their behavior is actually changing. The manner in which they're interacting with their peers that are also autistic are very different. They're expressing themselves emotionally,
and therefore they can empathize with them.
And they're displaying more emotional reactions to certain types of things, positive ones, right? They're creating friendships of an interpersonal kind, right? So of what we would deem to be interpersonal, even but by their standards of understanding and experience, right? So and it's really funny because that's what shows more evidence to me that people on they're schizo or schizotypal on this kind of schizo spectrum side of things also do the same, in the sense that like I've seen multiple people, whether on my server or otherwise, say I've never been in a place where I can talk to people and I think they understand me. And I understand what they're trying to say, even if I don't agree with it. And they're not being motivated by the same sort of things that have always made me feel alienated. In fact, they agree on one thing. Fuck status, fuck the interpersonal in many degrees, fuck just resource accumulation, fuck my individual self at times, right? Like fuck me as a like my own, which is hilarious, but my own what's the word, self-preservation as a physical entity, right? Like as a living being, right? I'm all about all this conceptual shit that's so much bigger than me and it's so much more important than me, right? And so because they find other people that experience life that way, they start actually feeling, oddly enough, ironically enough, they start feeling some sense of meaning as an individual, which is just kind of hilarious, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
but you have to find the commonality with other people, and it's so. I guess it's tricky because schizoids tend to have these really, really like unique, abstract interests, and they can't count on other schizoids having the same interests. But if you can sort of like reify, materialize the sort of schizoid condition itself, and that can be the common interest.
I mean, and that's what's so frustrating too, is I don't even like cluster A. Like, I don't like the idea of it. I don't like cluster A disorders. Like, because there's no separation between the cognitive experience and the pathology that develops because of the trauma of being an individual with a different cognitive experience in a majority population and framework that is incompatible to you, and so oftentimes traumatic, right? Like, the way I like to talk, this is why I always bring it back to autism, because I feel like they're only got half the story when it comes to autism. Like, I think it's like half of the outlier story, the cognitive outlier story. I think the other half is the schizo half, right? And so so I like to make these comparisons because it's just easier to kind of consume, even if it's somebody out there listening that isn't neurodivergent in that way. So the way I see it is that you can have autistic people have their own kind of concerns and values, and those are now being recognized and understood as being legitimate concern and values that neurotypical people might not comprehend. Right? As of right now, people that have the abstract format of the same experience are just considered to be disordered and crazy, or traumatized to the position that they can't connect with what is actually valuable in reality, right? So then these people are treated as if they just entirely have a disorder, right? I recognize within myself the things that are my pathology that I've developed because of trauma and everything else, and my different form of intuitiveness and cognition, right? Like, I can recognize those two things. I would be considered very high functioning on the schizo spectrum, right? But somebody that's more low functioning might have a difficulty balancing out the amount of salience they place within their kind of abstract concerns and their ability to actually like physically live, right? Like, so they might be like so concerned with some meta thing or some conceptual thing that their entire house is falling apart. Their health is crumbling, right? Because they're sitting there writing in a journal every fucking day all these things that are like they're concerned with, and they're not actually interacting with the world because they've hit a point where the world stopped mattering, right? So, and that can happen to autistic people too, which is interesting, right? When people are autistic and lower functioning, they can starve themselves. They can do things that are very unproductive to their ability to physically live because they become preoccupied with things of a nature that just feel just that much more valuable to them, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So often, to show kind of talk about examples of this actually occurring in real life, I would say artists, right? Especially certain types of, if you know anything about the history of certain types of performance art, right? Certain type of artists will just, self-preservation just goes out the fucking door for the sake of a concept. Right?
Yeah, I mean, mathematicians are like that.
Mathematicians are like that too, man. Like and that's the thing. It doesn't have to be art, right? There could be a schizo spectrum fucking mathematician, a schizo spectrum, whatever, engineer, right? And oftentimes what happens with those people, like a good schizo, like, it's kind of funny. A good schizo spectrum example of even though it's kind of infamous, example of a rocket scientist. Do you know who I'm going to mention?
A rocket scientist?
Yes, a literal rocket scientist. That was schizo as fuck. I'm trying to remember the name. I was hoping you had it, so I wouldn't look stupid. But now I look stupid. Okay. Satanic
I'm trying to think of
occult rocket scientist.
occults.
Yes. Hold on. Look it up. Jack Parsons.
I mean, there's Von
Jack
Braun,
Parsons.
that's all I can
Yeah,
think.
Von. Also him. But Jack Parsons, American engineer, right? Right. This guy developed all sorts of stuff that worked toward what we consider to be modern day rocket science, and eventually turned into NASA and everything else. Right. This guy knew his math, knew his physics, knew all this stuff, but what was fueling him was not some deep love of the math or the engineering portion of it, right? The concrete nature of it. What was fueling him was like all these abstract ideas. He became he became excommunicato within things like NASA, because he became essentially he started associating his efforts to alchemy and Thelemite occultism and shit. All right, all these kind of like out there things, right? But the guy still produced a significant amount. Yeah, it's a very interesting guy. He still produced a significant amount of things that were useful within the very concrete world, right? But because of the nature of his ambitions, he was kind of abandoned by the institutions. And Von, who did you say? I recognize the name Von.
Werner von Braun.
Yeah, Werner von Braun. Is that the same guy that did the radiation stuff? Am I thinking of the same guy?
I think von Braun. He's the guy who defected from Germany, right?
Oh, I think so. No, I'm thinking of somebody else. I'm thinking about the guy who like point is, there's plenty of scientists that were fueled by like totally abstract oftentimes I guess what we consider schizo sort of spectrum stuff, and they produced all sorts of great things, not just within the art world but within the scientific world. All right. Some people would argue that even some of Tesla's stuff was like that. And it's really, really funny because a lot of these people are often described as socially awkward, uninterested in the interpersonal, uninterested in fame or status, totally preoccupied by like, a more meta concept. Right? Their entire lives, like they live like that's what's crazy. They could have like gotten their discoveries and everything they made and poured it into interpersonal growth and status and resource accumulation, but they didn't care about that so much that they lived like they were homeless. Because any kind of wealth accumulation, they would pour right back into their abstract passion.
Yeah, because that's what they valued.
So
you think that a community of people can be created that value each other for those?
I think that if you have a Jack Parsons, I mean, I'm not going to say I don't know everything he did.
I mean, the tricky part is that you all be literally doing different things.
No.
You probably have no idea what each other, like no understanding of what each other is doing. So
that's
relate
fine.
to each other without actually sharing anything.
No, you could share. You could share things and develop.
You're not going to be able to share as much as people who are literally all have the same.
It depends on the level of functionality of that individual. How much of an outlier within that cognitive spectrum they're kind of there, right? I feel like the people that are kind of, I guess center schizo, I guess, or I'm using political terms like far schizo side, but still kind of not completely all the way mentally radical schizos, radical autists. I think they could still work together with the whole center realm functionally, but with each other, understanding that they can support one another emotionally, right? In a way that that it might not make sense.
So like autistic spectrum, it seems like this experiment has kind of already been tried for the autistic spectrum, right?
That all this stuff has been, a lot of this stuff has been tried. Yes.
And now it's like, now everyone knows what autistic means, and it's thing that everyone's happy to put on their Twitter
but
profiles
it's still up,
communities and so on.
It's still up there that groups that treat it like it's an illness that needs to be eradicated, right?
Yeah, but I mean, well, so we should look at that and see like how's that going? Is it accomplishing that?
Yeah.
And are autistic people sort of have more like, you know, community because of that? And then is it, you know, are there
they absolutely do.
Like,
is
it getting too sort of diluted by like everyone calling themselves autistic? So that doesn't mean anything anymore.
Hold on, I gotta okay, never mind. I was looking at something else. No, you're good. Sorry. I got mixed up. Go ahead. Sorry.
So yeah, so do you think that like in the time that autistic has become this kind of like identity?
It's become
autistic people.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I'm not into it turning into an identity for the purposes of like, because what I hate honestly
wearing a badge.
Correct. What I hate is that there's a lot.
You just need a way to find each other.
Find each other.
A way to talk about it.
Yeah, like what I hate is the manner in which, like, certain, especially within the neurodivergent world, certain sub identities are used to fuel in equidistant ambitions, right? So, like, in other words, that you would have people that are politicians and things like that are very much focused on this sort of interpersonal social world, using the neurodivergent people to fuel their own ambitions in like these ways that are counterproductive to the very group that they're trying to help, right?
For example,
I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, like corporations, right, are starting to recognize, oh, there's something useful about autistic people, right? And what's useful about them? Oh, they're really good at the like things like coding and engineering and shit like that, because they have like these preoccupations for that stuff, right? So part of the issue is there has to be a balance between and so like maybe a politician will promote that, right? Like, oh, look, this corporation's so great because they have more diversity hires. So part of the issue is trying to find a balance between actually recognizing what those people need in order to have functional, fulfilling lives, and balancing it out with the what they produce that's actually useful to set, I guess, middling, like neurotypical society, without exploiting those individuals, right? And that's one concern I've always had.
Well, what kind of exploitation are you concerned about? Like finding, you know, a corporation finds it, you know, that autistic people are productive, and that seems like a good thing for all parties.
Well, I mean, but see, here's a form of exploitation that would be easy. You could easily underpay them, and they wouldn't care, even if it has a negative impact on their health, unless they have somebody there actually trying to make sure that doesn't happen, right?
But how could recognizing autistics help you underpay them? Like, it would be easier to underpay them
because you would give them everything they need or want to do their preoccupation, but you would give them the bare minimum as far as what they physically need to be healthy or good. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you could put them in a sweatshop essentially.
Well, but if they don't
really care,
don't value.
Yeah, I know. I guess it was,
but maybe they're not being exploited. Maybe they're actually getting a better deal.
That's a complicated fucking. That's where it gets so dicey and unethical. Yeah, but that's a whole different conversation. I get what you're saying. But
like I would think that, you know, there's a lot of perks that are not going to be that. You know, like I don't care about like how many office parties we have every year in my company,
yeah.
right?
No,
they think they'll put tons of money into that. And it's like, oh my God, I
don't care about that shit.
If it became like socially acceptable to be a schizoid, and everyone knew that schizoids don't like office parties, then they'd be a little sort of more inclined to like, well, maybe we shouldn't bother spending all this money because we have a bunch of schizoids working for us anyway. They're not going to appreciate it.
Yeah.
And that seems like a good deal. Let's spend that money on some other perk that they will appreciate.
Yeah, but that's what I guess that would be the exploitative part. It would be they don't spend that on um they wouldn't spend it on anything that would actually be beneficial to that group. They would just use it as an excuse to increase their bottom line for their own individual corporate purposes of money making. So it's not.
Well, I guess, but I mean, anything we learned about human beings,
Yeah, here Balance
any
said
better
the
understanding
problem
we
is
have could be used to exploit people in that way, or
Yeah,
it could
yeah.
be used to make better deals. Like,
No.
I think generally speaking, we
Mhm.
understand ourselves better and
Mhm.
understand what the different ways other people can be and the different kinds of values they can have.
Yeah.
It's gonna probably make for better deals, right? Because I can't really go to my company and be like, so I don't like other people and I'd rather not talk to any of you people. So maybe you could give me some perks that don't involve like socializing.
You should be able to
that's
do
not
that.
really
You should be able to do that.
Right, I should, but it's not sort of socially acceptable.
No, but that's not my point. It should be socially acceptable,
if there was,
especially if you're a person that is being legitimate
exactly.
about it. Because a neurotypical person wouldn't
so
say that.
If people knew what a schizoid was, and it was sort of like understood and accepted that there's certain kinds of people who just aren't into hanging out with other people so much.
It's not even they're not into it. They just don't understand it, and they don't find it conducive to their own.
Right.
You know.
Well, yeah. I mean, but all other people, all they need to know really is that we're not going to like the office parties as much as most people do. So take that into consideration, and then maybe you can get a better deal because you're not.
It goes beyond that too, because like it's not just they don't like office parties, so we don't have to spend money on it. To take it a step beyond, it's they're so preoccupied with some aspect of the company that is conducive to their own personal goals that they are also the type that will be great salary workers if we give them a good salary, because they don't mind spending extra time on the subject matter at hand, because they're also very much uninterested in spending time going to parties and doing a lot of social activities that usually take up a significant amount of time.
Or it's even more like something more important is like the schizoids are not going to be they're not going to care if you like praise them a lot, right?
No.
They don't. The manager going, good job, excellent work, you get a gold. Like, they're not going to care about that.
No, they might care. They might care about like pay me more.
They're not going to care in the same way that most other people
pay me more so that I could like pour more money into my personal interests and making my life as comfortable as possible so that I could pour my time into my personal interests. They're going to care about that, but they're definitely not going to care about like a lot of the time like normal social forms of praise. They don't care about award ceremonies. They don't want to be put on a fucking pedestal. That shit doesn't get them off. That shit doesn't make them feel fulfilled. So
exactly. So that would be a really good thing for a company to understand.
I don't
realize that there are going to be some kinds of people who.
Yes, sorry, Mouse. I don't like money, but I know it's necessary. It's just fucking necessary. It's fucking horrible. But I don't like money. Like I don't go, I need so much currency. Like I just know that it's a fucking necessary thing for me to do anything of any value. And also earlier you had said something Balance that I think is really important to just clarify. Maybe you'll find it important. Last username. They asked, Angst, are you making these claims for only when they are being productive, or are saying this is the case even when they aren't productive? I think I know what you're saying, but I think what's important there is like acknowledging something. And here, let me acknowledge something that's kind of rough, and I'd like to hear your opinion on it. Last username. Okay. When you create this community that I'm discussing these ideas, right? And you have these people together. And I keep obviously saying, oh, it's so great. They're finding relatability and community and support systems and value systems that are aligning and all this sort of stuff, right? Like you got all that, right? There's definitely a difficult part in all this, a kind of darker sort of part when this sort of stuff occurs, right? That I don't want to just kind of like disregard. And that's that a lot of the individuals, especially if they're older, especially if they're not like just like early 20s or something, they probably experience so much alienation and trauma and disconnect, and that they've developed enough disassociation from their fellow man, which is reasonable, honestly, considering so much negative feedback loops internally, pessimism, just everything else that comes with what is the negative symptoms of being schizoid or schizotypal, right? They're going to be hurting in the process of trying to connect to other people, even if they find people that actually make sense to them. Because even the actual connection itself, the feeling that you're getting close to something, will oftentimes remind you of times in which you thought you found that and it ended up in trauma or rejection or existential crisis.
Right.
So it's not all productive. It's not all great. It's difficult, and it can be incredibly painful. And I would think that the best thing possible is to try to make it as painless as possible. But I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say it's a great, super positive process. No, it's going to be. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's painful. Sometimes it's fucking terrible. And I can get into that further sometime, if not now. If you're curious, last username. Give me 1 second, guys.
Sure.
Close the door, please. Thank you. All right, sorry. My daughter was going to bed. I don't like to show my kids on stream. It's fucking weird. Anyway, so yeah. Anyway, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think personally, I don't know. I don't feel like pain when I get close to people. I just sort of feel like, what's the point? Like, I've
still painful in some way.
I'm like middle-aged, and at this point, I've been sort of let down by people, by friendships and relationships so much.
By humanity as a whole, right? Just say it, dude. Just say it.
Well, specifically by.
I know. What if you're no, I know personal issues, but okay, look, if you're like,
but it's so easy to say like, oh, whatever, it's just gonna fizzle out. I'm just gonna lose interest. They're gonna lose interest. They're gonna disappoint me.
The reason I like to bring this up is, and maybe you haven't, because that's the thing when a lot of schizoids that I talk to, they haven't quite connected certain things yet about why they do what they do, and it's the process that I kind of had to go through myself. And one of those things I like to talk about is okay, so you're talking about these kind of immediate disappointments in people that have been locally around you or whatever, even online. What's funny is that, like, maybe you relate to this or you don't. I'm curious. Does it not affect, or is it really about that those particular people and the interactions thereof were disappointing? Or is it more about the association you make between those interactions and humanity, or interactions in general as a whole, that really fuck with you?
Associations with humanity as a whole,
like interaction itself as a category, human interaction, right? It isn't, oh, I'm so unlucky, I just haven't found enough the right humans to interact with. It's more of a situation in which it turns into human interaction is just so disappointing, or human connection is something not for me because it's just alienating and discouraging.
I mean, yeah, like that's sort of the conclusion I eventually came to. Like, I spent a long time just thinking like, I need to try harder. I need to learn more about
Oh,
people.
I know.
I need to work on myself. And
I'm only going this
eventually I
hard
started to
because you
think
said
more
you're
like,
middle aged. So
more like there's some like it's not what I'm putting into it. It's what I'm not getting out of it. That there's some reward that that I'm missing, and then so I'm not motivated to do any of those other things, and that's why it always feels like a chore maintaining friendships.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I feel like the only way I can maintain it is by sort of constructing this persona, and I got really good at that at
Yeah.
acting certain ways to maintain friendships and meet people and socialize, and I got great at that. But this thing, the better I was at it, the less I felt like I was like juggling, and it wasn't authentic, right? I wasn't being myself, and I'm like, what's the point? Like, I'm basically putting on this little act for people, and then I get to hang around them, and I don't really, and what do I get out of that? Where's the reward? I don't get it. It's just sort of like, it was like the status reward, like, oh, I have more friends, I have more lovers,
All right,
I have more this, more that.
Yeah.
But then I realized, like, that's not. I don't care. It seems like other people are enjoying each other in a way that I'm not enjoying people, and that's probably the problem. I need to figure that out.
No, absolutely. All that is like the fucking staple of what I've heard almost every schizoid that has like gotten their diagnosis and contemplated it and discussed it and really preoccupied themselves with trying to figure some of this shit out. Like that shit right there is so fucking all the time. And
seems to be what the big difference between schizoids and autistic spectrum is. The autistic people enjoy other people, but they're not very good at relating to them.
No, well, see, that's the thing. Autistic people don't
potentially can figure out how to relate to people, but they just don't enjoy it.
Autistic people don't always enjoy other people. Autistic people oftentimes, depending on where they're at,
they have the
capacity. We have the capacity to. We just, and we do it, which is funny, is because we will oftentimes emotionally attach ourselves to concepts regarding humanity that we find wholesome and useful and conducive to some sense of joy, right? Like even if those things aren't prevalent in most of human society. So but my point, shit, you say what you said a little bit ago, because it triggered a thought and now it's gone.
Which thing?
Oh man. You said something about, I know so many things.
Something about like being inauthentic.
Authenticity.
About not relating to people. About it's not what I'm not putting in, but rather what I'm not getting out of relationships.
Yeah, getting out. There we go. Okay. So what's interesting is you start recognizing. Sounds more antisocial than schizoid, but teach their own. No, that there's a very significant difference between ASPD, or not autism, but like antisocial personality disorder and avoidant too. Like like what are the differences, I would say, between avoidant? You had said there's like a big difference between something and something. I forgot what it was, but one of the major differences between, say, somebody that's avoidant and somebody that's schizoid is a lot of the outward expressions seem similar, which is like, the excommunication of society, oftentimes at large and in many ways, but the motivation behind it is incredibly different, right? When you're talking about somebody that's avoidant, they're oftentimes preoccupied and become as isolated as they do because of interpersonal preoccupations, right? Meanwhile, when you're talking about a schizoid and why they separate themselves from others, they're oftentimes incredibly abstract or sort of meta preoccupations as to why they think they don't want to take part in human society or people that they interact with, right? Because it's not conducive to essentially their mental health, according to them, right? It causes them a significant amount of pain and suffering because of conceptual reasons, not because, they wish they were liked, but they just don't think they're worth being liked, right? It's usually, I'm not willing or I'm interested in doing the things that required me to be liked, even if I'm capable or skilled enough to do so, and even if I'm covert and I do those things and I am liked by my fellow man, it achieves nothing because social acceptance isn't what I find fulfilling. As far as like by being like creating a persona that's conducive to social acceptance. So I don't know what I'm going with this. I'm lost now. I've lost my. I'm floating in the ether at this point. Help me, please. Help me, please. I don't know where I went.
So the project. Okay, so the project of you want to create a schizoid community. That
and not just a community. The community is the server portion, right? And maybe the following on the channel, but on my own,
what do you think about
advocacy and I guess activism?
What do you think about authenticity? This is something I think about a lot.
Oh yeah,
because I feel like I've done a really good job of training myself to act like I, want
that you're authentic. Yeah,
relationships with other people.
Authentically care about like the interpersonal realm. Yes,
and I put so much work into that, and that I don't even know I don't know what I'm really like, or if that even.
Hold on. Mouse is give me 1 second. Mouse is getting butthurt about something. Yeah, I saw the reply. I saw that you weren't replying to me. Don't worry, Mouse. You're good. Yeah, don't worry about that. I saw that. All right. Anyway, go ahead.
So I think I wonder if there's a lot of schizoid out there who have a problem with that being themselves, figure out what themselves is and how do you be it. Particularly, how do you be it around other people? What is it? What is the real me like with other people? That's what I wonder.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a discoverable thing.
I wonder if that is maybe that's what prevents me from enjoying
other people.
Yeah,
yeah.
If I could be myself, whatever that is, then I would enjoy it.
Oh, I remember now. Sorry to cut you off. I remember now. I remember now what I wanted to tell you. Okay, this is you jumped on my stream, so it's up to you if you want to answer this shit. Okay, you could just tell me fuck off, bro. Like I'm not answering this shit, or you can tell me okay, I'll get into it. All right, that's my question, and I don't care if it makes me look stupid.
You forget again,
huh? Oh yeah.
Enough disclaimers. Just ask for.
Okay. Sorry. This conversation we're having right now, this interaction we're having at this moment on the stream with me, right, with these people, does it feel any different or less empty than your interactions that you've had in many other instances?
In many other instances?
Like in instances in which you're trying to be yourself, quote unquote, and feel alienated. Do you feel less alienated in this environment talking to me, talking about this?
Yeah, a little.
Describe it.
Now,
I'm curious.
Well, it might just be because you're probably the first person I've talked about this with. Because, like I say, this is kind of a new.
I'm guessing you've tried to talk about this to somebody and it didn't work at some point.
I didn't even know it's schizoid. I've never heard the word schizoid.
No, I'm not talking about schizoid specifically, bro. Like I'm talking about like I have these preoccupations and thoughts about my existence and my fellow man's existence, and I've attempted to somehow reach out to my fellow man in discussing them, and it's failed countless times.
I've never discussed that with anybody either. I've never told anyone that I am not interested in people.
Then why are you here doing it now? I'm curious.
I think a lot of it has to do with that word. That having a word for it actually helps, even though I could have listed off all the symptoms. I mean, I guess it's a weird thing to go up to someone like, hey, by the way, I have these listed, like all these symptoms. Isn't that, like it's hard to have a discussion like that, but
would it be weird to me, but yeah,
finding someone else who calls themselves schizoid, and I know that they can have all those things too. Now it's, it's easier to talk about. So yeah, it feels good to talk about this. So I guess it's more authentic, but like I say, I don't even know what being authentic feels like.
It kind of feels like this.
Like what? Sorry.
No, I said it kind of feels like this, what you're doing.
Okay.
Wouldn't it be kind of cool if you could do this more?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be conducive to your mental health and your ability to want to get up in the morning more often?
I mean, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I don't like, I don't like talking about my problem. I'm a real solution oriented guy.
Yeah, you don't have to talk about your problem. I'm not saying you have to sit there and talk about your actual problems, your individual problems that have to do with you specifically. But wouldn't it be nice to be able to talk about the problems that you have outside of those, and other people will go, "Oh, I'm willing to interact with that in a way that makes sense and isn't just completely dismissive and disconnecting."
Maybe.
Maybe. Perhaps. Who knows?
Well, like I say, I've always found that I don't get anything from sharing my problems with people. I just feel like, why did I waste that? They weren't interested in that. Like what? Like my problems are like, I don't feel any better. I didn't solve anything by telling someone else. Like, what's the point?
What if I told you I am very interested? Would you think I'm lying?
That helps. Then at least I won't feel bad.
No, but do you think I'm lying? Do you think I'm lying? Do you think I'm just doing it for content?
I totally believe you. I believe you that I'm super interesting. No problem. But I don't know. But I still don't feel like, well, I don't know. Maybe I am solving my problems. Maybe you're taking a little step. Who knows?
Who knows, man?
We'll see.
Who knows? Fuck it. Go into it. Try anything. Like, it's just like, I think a lot of the people I talk to have gotten to a point where they're just like, fucking nothing works, man. I'm willing to try whatever the fuck I can. And
but one thing I've noticed like all my life is I have a massive aversion to repetition. I'm wondering if you're like this or anyone else out there is like that. But like
repetition in what way?
Really, really, like if you, when you feel like you're saying something you said before, or you're hearing something you've heard before, it manifests in all sorts of ways. But yeah, anything in repetition, things get old really fast. It's like painful to listen to like watch a movie twice, or to have the same discussion twice, or especially to do something twice. I feel like I've already done this.
Let me think on that for a second.
It might be just because I'm better at perceiving the repetition.
Yeah.
Seeing the pattern.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of if that's like a bothersome thing for me. It depends on the amount of productivity that's occurring between me and whatever I'm interacting with. If it's a repetition of an unproductive event or conversation, then yes, I would absolutely say so. Right? Yeah, let me give you a pretty good example of what I mean. I think this is a decent example. Okay, this is one weird little quirk or issue. I do want to end the stream in a few minutes here, but this is one little quirk or issue that maybe might not be entirely relatable to you, but I think could be relevant. So, movies, right? Films, movies, comic books. Well, let's stick to like films and shows, right? I'm a nerd. I love a lot of media because I'm fascinated with human imagination, the capacity to create entire worlds, right? So, okay, movies. Anthony Kidd said movies. Okay, let's stick to movies, okay? By the way, mostly in terms of words and not activities. By the way, you fucks, if you want to support the stream, go on my goddamn PayPal and give me your goddamn money because life sucks and I need money. Anyway, so here's the example, my personal example. I love film, right? And I love media of all sorts. But whenever I would watch a movie, and this was something that I didn't think about why I was doing, it was just something kind of very intuitive for me growing up as a teenager and in my 20s, is that I would watch a movie and I would really like it, right? And the only way I would rewatch it was I would never sit there and go, I'm going to rewatch it on my own over and over, right? I've already seen it. Why would I rewatch it? I know what it's about. It's rare that it's happened, but it's rare that that's the reason, right? Very rare. But when I find an individual that I find that can find something productive or something out of this thing, I'm hoping they will, that hasn't seen it, right? I will gladly rewatch a movie countless times just because of the offshoot that this new person or people will find something of a similar value in experiencing it for the first time. And so then, for whatever reason, that triggers in me a sense of kind of enjoyment in rewatching the movie. It's very rare that I ever rewatched a movie on my own. Like, okay, here, let me give you. Comedies are one of the easiest ones, right? Because people like funny, and I like to see the reaction that the new people that haven't seen it are now watching it for the first time and how they react to it, right? Because it's a reminder of how I might have reacted to it initially as well. So, a movie I've seen probably like fucking 20 times within the comedy realm is Black Dynamite. I've seen the movie Black Dynamite probably 20 fucking times. I don't even know how many times. Right? I find that movie to be fucking hilarious, first of all. But
is it crushing when you show it to someone else and they don't like it?
It's crushing, not so much that they don't like it. If say like they watch it with me and they're like, I don't get it. And then I say, "Oh, really?" And I say, "Okay, let's talk about why you don't get it. Well, what is it about it that you don't find funny?" That part's not crushing. That would be interesting. I want to have that conversation. Oh, what's your kind of experience with this thing that you find it unamusing? And that conversation itself could be productive and interesting in my mind, right? It'll actually make worth showing that movie to them that they didn't like worth showing to them, right? Just to hear their angle on it. But if they watch it and they go, I don't like it. And I'm like, you're like halfway through the movie, and you're like, oh, why not? What is it? I don't know. It's just not funny. I don't like it. I'm like, and then you try to ask questions about why it's not funny, and they're just like, I don't like it. I don't know. That's when I'm like, fuck, what a waste of time. Like, I'm not even getting a conversation out of this. Like, this is just nothing. Like that's when it's kind of like, ugh, fuck.
That's why I usually don't try to do that.
Yeah, but if you have a group of people and you do it, there's a good chance at least a few of them will be weirdos.
Oh god, that's the worst when you're like trying to get a whole group to do something and none of them like it.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Because then I just feel like the stuff I like nobody else likes.
Okay,
so,
all right. Like, you know what? Let's stop you right there. Tell me some stuff you like.
Oh, I mean, movies. I guess I
just start naming shit, motherfuckers. Stop wasting time disclaimering like you told me.
Like you want titles?
Whatever. Give me titles of movies that you like.
I don't know. Fuck. Like what's like a really good movie that I've seen lately? I don't know.
That isn't porn.
I don't. Yeah, I can't. I don't have. I don't like. I don't go like not.
Oh, yeah, genres.
I like science fiction and horror, but yeah, it's like
okay. Horror. Let's go horror. Horror's my realm. Okay. Horror. Yeah. I love horror. Okay, give me some horror movies.
Oh, I like Ari Aster movies.
By the way, Anthony King says Schindler's Fist, which is amazing. Anyway, but go ahead.
I assume that's the porn genre.
No, I know that's just amazing though. Schindler's Fist. I haven't actually ever heard somebody say that. That's amazing and really funny and fucked up.
You know Ari Aster?
Ari Aster. I'm not good with director names usually. Give me the movie titles.
He made Hereditary and
Oh, I love fucking Hereditary, bro. That is one of the my fucking favorite movies I've ever watched in my whole fucking life. I'm not even being an asshole and
I love
lying.
that. I like
I
Midsommar.
love Midsommar was pretty good. I love Hereditary. And I love Hereditary for some weird fucking reasons. I would like to hear. Okay, here let's get into this. All right, real quick here. Why do you like Hereditary? And then I'll tell you why I like Hereditary, and we'll see how fucking weird it gets.
Okay.
All right, go. Why do you like Hereditary?
Me first.
Yeah,
I like it. Well, I sort of had mixed feelings about Hereditary. Mainly I just like that he's very good at crafting atmosphere and making things seriously fucking creepy. In a way that there's no current, horror's kind of become like this like schlock B movie type thing.
Yeah.
And he's sort of rediscovered how to make like really fucking disturbing, scary stuff that just gets under your skin. And he did it pretty well with Hereditary, but I think Hereditary got a bit silly.
No, but give me some of the aesthetic reasons you like. Give me some aesthetic stuff with Hereditary. Like, where were we going? Like, what is it that you just go, this is a piece of art right here. Like, I love this shit.
Aesthetic stuff?
Yeah, like, what is it you like so much about it? Besides, like, a reinvention of certain, like...
I don't know. I mean, like, the things that happen, you could see those in a crappy, like Final Destination. Like, the actual kills are nothing special if you just describe them. But it's more just the atmosphere and the subtle stuff, the feel that he builds that makes it so disturbing. And it's the grief, right? He uses grief really, really well. Like really
so the psychology of it, grief
it's not
is fascinating.
like in a B movie, like, the victims would like scream
no, my daughter's dead.
You don't care about them, right?
And then they'll cry that their kid is dead or something.
He'll use like really fucking powerful, serious emotions to pull you in, and
like uncomfortable emotions, right? Uncomfortable shit.
Yeah.
Like the shit you don't want to see on the screen because you came to fucking relax. You came to fucking watch a movie because you wanted to watch something scary, but instead you're watching some shit that making you feel scared and really sad all at once.
Yeah, he will wind you up so that you can't just relax and throw popcorn in your mouth and enjoy it.
Yeah, you're fucking, if anything, you're probably like lose your appetite. Seeing a fucking a little possibly learning disabled child's fucking head on the side of a road covered in ants and rotting under the sun.
Right.
Like that's both the imagery and the concept.
You can see that in any schlock movie.
Yeah, but conceptually
you got to watch her mom like find out and stuff.
And then the brother have fucking watch PTSD in real time, right? And shock. Right? It's just So would you say that those psychological elements are some of the most powerful aspects of why you find the movie to be like incredibly important or interesting or powerful or whatever you want to call it?
For sure, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, here, you want to hear mine? Here, totally different. Even though I agree with all the ones you made, like all the statements you made, I agree. Like I get all that stuff, and I think there's definitely a value in it. Here's totally different fucking take on why I fucking value this movie so much. That's just as kind of abstract in a different direction. Okay. So we're going to say your take is the deep emotional psychological depictions of human suffering via a supernatural, well put together supernatural aesthetic that is creepy and unsettling against the backdrop of human psychology and grief and things like that. All right, is that accurate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's accurate. Okay, cool. Let's do mine. Okay, so mine is that's secondary for me. I like the stuff you said. For me, that's secondary. What's primary for me, and for some people, this might get more into like, I guess, a typal realm in some degree, but just because I'm gonna throw in some, I guess what would be considered to be magical thinking stuff, right? Like not really, but just the stuff associated to it. The reason I love this fucking movie, besides the music and all the reasons you explained, is because they got a lot, and not entirely, and I'm going to get some fighters out there, I get it. They got so much of the occultism right. Right. So it wasn't, and because they did their research, man. Like the whether it was the writer, director, scriptwriter, whatever, they did their research on things like the 12 Keys of Solomon, the demons of Goetia, Paimon, specifically for this movie, ritual sacrifice, metaphorical physical representation of things. They did their fucking research. Compared to other movies that deal with occult subjects, even something like The Exorcist, which is loved, Hereditary did their research to the point where my fucking loose association ass brain goes, if there's any validity to the occult aspects of what was developed by such grimoires in history, this movie in and of itself, based on those parameters, has a impact on that level, because you're seeing depictions of certain types of ritual behavior that is not positive, entirely malevolent in many degrees, and but still conducive to the type of behavior, actions, and philosophical position you would have to take to produce the results that the characters or the antagonists in that film were trying to make happen. And on top of that, this is what blew my mind, is it got the psychological components that you're describing, which are oftentimes like the occult. Oftentimes you could argue occult rituals and otherwise oftentimes are just metaphors, right? Symbolic metaphor of what is very real psychological trials and tribulations of the human condition, right? It got that. It got that stuff, bound it into the magical thinking portion of it, the occult stuff, right? Like, you do this, you do A, B happens. You don't need an actual like logical or consistent reason for why it's just demons, whatever. It got those two things and put them together, right? So grief, okay, things like grief, like you described, the loss of a person, another human being, the degrading of a person's psychology, right? The attack, like things like trauma, everything you understand psychologically, to degrade a person's psychology and ability to have any kind of will to live and fight and continue forward, right? Those are the very things that even on an occult level would need to be degraded for the purposes of finding a proper host, for allowing a demon to get what it wants, to have the influence it requires in order to get to the point where it does in the film itself, right? So, for example, the spoilers, if there hasn't already, the boy who was taken over by the end, by Paimon, he needed to be a part of his sister's death. He needed to have this rejection within his own family, his mother, to all the stuff, even the mother sleepwalking and throwing gasoline on them early in life that's mentioned, which built a distrust and disconnection between the mother and the son. All that was set up by the mother for the purposes of causing enough psychological damage by the grandmother, to cause enough psychological damage to the family and to the people after she passes, in order to make them susceptible to Paimon and his will and his influence, right? And this is what gets so crazy. This is where it gets wild.
And you're telling me this is actual actual occult.
Yes, like they like, it doesn't say that stuff specifically, obviously, but if you read anything like 12 Keys and other sort of occult stuff, it often describes that demons can more easily access an individual that lacks conviction and faith and confidence and everything else. Like a psychologically torn individual is much easier to possess or take over than anyone that has conviction and strength and beliefs, regardless of how irrational those beliefs may be, whether it's God or somebody that just has a cosmic attunement with their autonomy, right? So, but my point being is, it's so crazy that I'm watching this movie and I'm like, okay, this is weird. The symbols they're using, okay, the acts that are going through, the almost amount of what is it, precognition that is required from some of these cult members that would allow them to perceive that things would go as planned as they have, which would involve their ability to somehow gain access to information via the very demon they're trying to like bring forward into a physical body. Dude, even the fact that he requires a physical body, right? This is one of those arguments that people pose, right? They'll say like, oh, well, why would a powerful demon from another world require a physical body? Like, why would they even want that, right? Why couldn't they just do all their cool demon powers in their fucking demon world, right? If you know anything about the 12 Keys of Solomon, right, you know that within at least that piece of literature, permanence says, that's what I mean, zeros. Within that piece of literature, which is very, very popular in grimoire-wise, it was when Christianity or certain kind of Abrahamic religions still believed that certain groups believed that demons were not just like independent entities of God. They were actually, well, angels or creatures that were still under the will of the omnipotence of God. And so they believed that you can use God's power and faith to control those demons, which have no choice but to be compelled by it. Even if they have a lot of freedom in their realm, their impact in the physical or material realm is incredibly limited because God or whatever has domain over that. And so it would require them to find a physical manifestation in order to have more domain and in worship to have more domain over the physical world or the material world. So it's like crazy shit. It's crazy.
The whole movie is like this plan coming together.
Yes, perfectly. It's a plan coming together.
That is interesting.
Perfectly.
Makes me want to watch it again.
No, exactly. It's a plan coming together perfectly. In fact, let me give you, without getting too controversial, whatever. You know, in the real world now, right? You have individuals out there, in I guess more radicalist beliefs regarding Islam and stuff, right? Do you know that, like, whether it's exploding themselves or their children or throwing certain types of people off rooftops or whatever, right? Like, all those, like, I'm talking about more the radical side of those sort of things. Do you know that those people don't view their acts as malevolent, right?
Which people?
Well, people that would do those acts in the name of no, I'm talking about like Islam.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not to get controversial, but like individuals that say, I don't know, behead gay people or are willing to beat women with rocks because of this or that, right? Mm-hmm. Oftentimes they don't believe their actions are malevolent, right? Within the context of a belief system, they believe they're actually doing righteous things, not even because they're punishing a person, but because they actually think they're saving a person, right? There's
some of them might believe that.
Yeah, there's been I've read some fucked up writing and zines from across the world, in which they're discussing their justifications for these actions. And oftentimes they're in this, not, I wouldn't say guise, because they actually believe it, of saving the individuals they might be either murdering or punishing, because based on their interpretations of their lore, their text, those actions actually save those people, right? So the reason I'm bringing this up is within Hereditary, there's a portion in which the grandmother explains, Allah, but there's a portion in which the grandmother, in the book, I believe it's in the book that the protagonist finds the mother, it says that they're going to go through some hell, but that it's all going to be worth it. Not just for her, but for them. So this is what's so sick about it too, is that within the grandmother's perspective, all the horrors that she's inflicting upon her family are actually conducive to existentially positive things for her family, not just herself.
Yeah. She's doing it out of what she thinks is good for them,
and
she thinks she's taking care of
her niece's head getting removed, her daughter sawing her own head off, lighting her own husband on fire via this occult nature, her nephew, grandson, sorry, not granddaughter and grandson, jumping off and possibly dying and then being taken over by Paimon physically, and the rewards that come to their family and to their cosmic existential existence for helping this particular demon of Goetia are all worth all the suffering that you watch happen in that movie.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked up.
Dude, it's dark, bro. Like, it's so dark, because there's like, and so I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry that when I watch a movie like this and I see these things, and the more I think about it, the more I realize, oh shit, like, fuck, these themes are way darker than any of the articles. Yes, submit to demons. Hell no, don't submit to the demons. But I'm trying. I'm not saying that what she did was right. I'm saying this is the thought pattern, right? This is what might be the rationalization inside the grandmother's mind. She might actually love her family, and within the context of loving her family and within her belief system, everything she did was good. But
and now I'm thinking, like, in Midsummer, he's basically doing the same thing. He's showing the society that has this like value system that is so like unbelievably twisted to us, but to them it makes perfect sense. And that's what's so horrifying about it, is seeing people whose values can be so different and to be so fucked up, and yet you realize that they're just doing what they think.
I think the better message is that the values, really, and I think the better message, honestly, the values that people, our neurotypical framework society feels are justifiable are often just as fucked up as the stuff in Midsommar or Hereditary.
If all values are that fucked up,
like it's dark. If you want to get real meta, like how many things do neurotypical societies value that end in death and anguish, that are considered pro-social, right?
At least some real societies are
including a lot of Western or Eastern. It doesn't matter. I think a lot of human civilization kind of goes that route, without you knowing it necessarily that they're doing it, or being fully aware of it, because they're already in their own kind of bubble of thinking when they have too many people around them agreeing with what they value and what is worth, what is productive and unproductive suffering in the world. Like, and so, but
on that cheery note,
yeah,
I have to get up for work in the morning.
Oh no, for sure. I gotta go too. But point being is that's why I like Hereditary. And if somebody other than yourself and probably other people heard me, they'd either get bored or think I'm insane, or wouldn't be able to listen to me long enough to hear me out. So, or think it's too pessimistic or too dark or too depressing or too something or too another. Or cognitive dissonance would kick in and they wouldn't want to hear the rest of it. So it's Hereditary.
I totally. Incredible film. I completely get the way that you enjoyed that movie? Now thinking back.
Oh,
maybe I was
it disturbed me. It didn't just
Yeah.
enjoy it. It disturbed me. It's very hard to disturb me at this point. But after watching so many horror films, but that movie disturbed me, and like it made me feel schizotypal for a second. And I'm not disparaging it, because I started like loose associating stuff like that. I obviously got under control immediately, but I started going like, oh shit, what if this film was made for that direct purpose? Like, you know, like I started having thoughts of like, what if this movie was in fact a ritual in and of itself and created for the purposes of some meta ritual within like this kind of film industry or some shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I started having like wacky thoughts about shit like that. Because started loose associating.
I've seen interviews with Ari Aster, and he's like a pretty goofy guy.
Yeah, but
like,
what if that's a front? You know, like I just start like having all these conspiratorial thoughts that I'm like aware of, but I just go like, oh, that gives me the heebie-jeebies, right? Like I don't.
It makes sense that someone who makes like such dark stuff would be.
Yeah, like I'm just like, oh shit, why is their shit so accurate?
Because you need one, right?
Yeah, like oh, because he thinks what he's doing is good. Like, what if it's having an actual influence on like human society? And what if he's like actually tapping into the demons of Goetia or some shit, or pagan like gods? And like I don't know, man. Like I'm fucking around. Like it's just stupid world building thoughts in my head. But like it's still really creepy and uneasy, because some part of me goes, oh fuck, what if that was true? Oh fuck, that's scary as shit. God damn it. Like, you know. So anyway, that's why I love that movie, even if it is in fact something horrible.
Have you seen a Barbarian?
I haven't watched it. I hear it's good though. The one I wanted to watch was Smile. I don't know if that was any good. It caught my attention.
No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, that's the one where the girl goes through some kind of PTSD, and then her reality starts warping, and there's something to do with human smiles or some shit. Like I haven't watched that one.
Huh.
Yeah, there's a lot of good movies out there, man. If you ever want to talk horror films, you're welcome to jump on the stream and we can talk about that or anything else, man. You've been a pleasure, bro. Like you've been fun to talk to.
Likewise.
All right, man. Peace out.
And I will be around. Have a good night.
Good night, man. And give me your money. Peace out.
Okay.
All right, guys. So thank you for joining. Thank you for being here. That was a cool stream. I enjoyed that conversation, and my throat's starting to hurt because I'm tired and I'm still kind of sick. So thanks a lot, guys, for listening. If you like the stream, if you like any of this shit, please support it. Please do whatever. Just give me your fucking money, man, because I want to keep this project going and keep all this stuff going. I hate saying all the stuff. Like, join my Patreon. Join my PayPal. Give me fucking all. Like, isn't it easier if I just say, look at my description. There's ways to give me money. Give me money if you think I'm doing something worthwhile. There. It's so much easier. If you don't, then fuck it. Just keep watching my shit for free. Whatever. And then support me in other ways, like posting links everywhere to my shit, or going out on Reddit and telling people this is good stuff or something. I don't know. Hit the like button. There you go. Thank you, Apple. Hit the like button. Hit the notification bell. Occasionally, fap to images of my channel. I don't care. Whatever works. You give two shits. All right, let's go ahead and shut this shit down. Thanks a lot, guys. As always remember. Oh shit! I'm showing my fucking. I always do this shit. Good thing it's under Stardust's announcements and nothing else. Fucking hate that. I always do that shit. Like close the fucking thing and then it just like starts showing what I had last in Discord. Yes, I watch Stardust. I think they're one of the few reasonable streamers out there, even if I don't agree with everything they say. Thanks for joining me, and as always, when day is dark, always remember. What do we remember? I want somebody in chat to tell me. What do we remember? Remember what? What do we remember? I want to see chat tell me what we remember. What do we remember, chat? You talk to Stardust? Hey, last username. If you fucking talk to Stardust from time to time, I would love to talk to Stardust about this stuff. So, hook it up. When day is bright, always remember poopy day. No, that's not quite right, BB. Oh, cool, man. Yeah, Stardust is rad. I like Stardust in I like the stuff she's been doing with Dev, because I don't always agree with him, but I feel like he's a pretty reasonable guy sometimes. Short Fat Otaku, I like Short Fat Otaku's fucking takes on certain things, and I'm not always into his sense of humor, but I like his takes, and I like the conversations she's been having with him, and yeah, those have been interesting. But I like Stardust. She's fucking chill. Like I've been watching some of her interactions, and I'm like, yeah, Dev's sick. I like Dev. Okay, so those are all people I would love to fucking talk to, because I've been watching their shit for like years, I guess, at this point. In any case, yeah. Did anybody know when day? Remember Dark Day? No, not Remember Dark Day. Doom Sheet. It's not Remember Dark Day, you piece of shit. It's when day is dark, always remember Happy Day. We got to remember Happy Day, okay? Guys, you got to try and remember Happy Day once in a while. I know it's hard. I know it sucks ass. But I'm not going to be helpful in that regard, because I'm going to play what I consider to be a very mainstream but incredibly nihilistic song about the pain of existence. So have fun with that. Peace out, guys. And it'll probably get me a copyright claim, but I don't care, because I probably already got one anyway. As long as I don't get a strike. As long as nobody gives me a strike, I think I'm fine. All right, peace.
Rows of houses all burn down on me. I can feel the hands touching me. All these things into position. All these things will one day swallow whole. This machine will not communicate these thoughts and the strain I am under. We watch out, form a circle before we all go under. Fight for life, I can feel death, 'cause see its beady eyes. All these things into position, all these things will one day swallow.